Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing today? Classic WoW lovers. This is Kargoz, joined by the fam, Takanashi and Sorrana. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. We got a cool show planned for you on this, what's the weather like over where you guys are at? Here in California, it is rainy and cold.
It's like fucking... Every time I look out the window, there's like fucking 10 inches of snow more than last time I looked. I'm afraid to watch anything, you know. Yeah. It's been snowing for 48 hours straight.
Yeah, in Germany, it's nearly the same. We have like a mix of rain and snow, depending on the degrees outside.
Nice. So, I mean, if you guys don't know, Taka owns and runs a gym. Have the New Year's resolution people, have they burned out yet? Or are they still going strong on the treadmill right now?
They haven't really kicked in, you know.
Huh.
I have to say I'm kind of disappointed. Not that many people showed up. Mostly young people. And you know, just like... I don't know. They show up all the time, but you know the old motherfuckers. They're still in the couch, you know, eating popcorn and snacks, and yeah, I'm waiting for those guys.
You know why, right? They're all getting ready for Classic, dude. They're all making preparations. They're all going for
They should be on the threadmill. What the fuck? They should be on the threadmill.
The threadmill? Oh man. Yeah, guys. We're one day closer to Classic, man. What do you guys think? I mean, beta soon, update soon, water cooler soon, something soon. There was a German interview, actually. Oh my God, we got some German-speaking friends here. Maybe you guys could translate. There is some new German interview about Classic WoW. I don't know if you guys saw that, but for another time, I'd love to get a translation.
I have heard of it. Yeah, I didn't read it myself.
Okay, not yet. Kargoz, can you get into the Classic Alpha already? Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. There probably is one going on, though, right? I mean, it's freaking January 15th right now. There's probably a Friends and Family Alpha going on. I don't know what you guys think of the chat, but there probably is, man. It's under NDA, and they're just having so much fun.
That interview, wasn't it... I mean, they were talking about stuff like... expectations of Classic and compared to retail and why people want to play Classic and speculating on release dates and stuff like that.
I would know, man. I don't speak German, but is that what it said?
I don't know. I think it was a lot of, you know, Sorrana.
I have, yeah, like I said, I haven't read it myself, but I think what it was about is that they trying to hold the summer release date and that they are still recreating the closest vanilla experience they can do, and there is a lot more work. So basically, it's what they just repeated what they said at BlizzCon. I don't think there was anything of big news that would be important for any one of us now. They didn't release anything.
Okay, so it's kind of a fluff type interview, hopefully, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping we get a water cooler update in the next month or so. Maybe beta in February, maybe? Fingers crossed? Maybe March? Nothing new in that interview. Alright, thanks for that. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining today. We got a nice show for you. This is kind of what's on the agenda today. So, you know, just a little update with you guys, talking it out, chilling out. And then we're going to go into some critical items. So, Skull of Impending Doom, we're going to talk about usage, what it does, how to get it, things of that nature, you know, discuss it a little bit, talk about grenade usage. These are things we've talked about in the past, but hopefully to dive a little bit deeper. Swapping items, these all kind of go together. So, you know, critical items and usage. Talk about honor capping. Sorrana has prepared some stuff with regard to honor capping, especially, you know, how to cap perfectly, bracket 1 and bracket 2. Talking about... maybe Q dodging, Alterac Valley. I found some interesting Reddit threads that could be cool to discuss, so I queued them up here so we can go over them as a group. So welcome to PvP Workshop number 9, dude. 9 freaking PvP workshops. Feels good, man. Feels good.
Feels good.
Awesome.
We've been at it for almost 3 months. What the fuck?
That is crazy. Yeah, time is
Right?
fine. Time is fine. Okay. So Drudy says that his wife is asking for your number, Taka, so you might want to ping him and send her your number. Also,
right.
I'm asking for a friend, but someone wants to know what you condition your beard with, so definitely message that
Well,
to me.
actually,
Beer, of course.
beer.
He dips it in protein powder.
I actually use this oil, beard oil, because otherwise I would, wake up 20 times during the night, because when your beard starts to grow, it just begins to itch and it drives you fucking nuts. So some nice oils just to moisturize the skin. Otherwise I would just shave that shit straight off.
Are you gonna get some oil, all right? Playing classic WoW for 20 hours a day, you can get some oil. Get some oil going. Do you before we get into the PvP, action here, do you color? Do you put like a little, little gray, little silver paint? You just paint it. Does it just naturally? It's just naturally how it forms.
What?
The beard, you got this. You got the little, salt and pepper.
Gray
little
edges.
Gray edges and stuff. Is that just natural? It just gets the natural little gray. In America, we have yeah.
Actually, it's like I had all black hair and stuff like that, right? And then
Then you ranked to 13 and 98%.
Then I ranked to 9. then I was working on this project, which was a real headache, and I got like all gray on one side, and then I was cool for a year, and then I worked on a different project, and I got all gray on the other side in like 1 month.
Wow.
So yeah. So that's why I started my own gym, so I don't get any more gray hair.
Okay. No, it looks good. We have a term here in America called silver fox. So like the girls, the ladies, they like a little silver
foxes.
Yeah. Yep. I have like 3 gray hairs on the top of my head, but that's about it. All right, let's get into it, boys. So, all right. Next slide. So yeah, we talked about updates, intros. Not a whole lot to report here on that front. We don't have another water cooler to discuss. Alpha, beta date. Someone in the chat just said that there's some retail patches coming out. I'm lost on the sauce there. I didn't know that. So maybe that's why stuff is getting pushed back a little bit. But hopefully soon. Do you think anything about the modern WoW kind of retail infrastructure with the BNet the way it is, and based on the demo, some of the quality of life stuff with messaging, do you think that's going to impact PvP at all?
No, I don't know. I mean, if you have Battle.net or if you have Discord, whatever. I mean, if you don't have Battle.net, use third party.
Yeah.
What if they had a? Sorry, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, even when you only had Ventrilo and shit like that, right? We were talking to the opposite team and laughing and having fun.
But it's kind of easier those days to connect with. Like Battle.net, you just right click and add to your friends or whatever, even if it's the opposite faction. But I think they want to patch that out. I don't know.
Oh, I
but
hope
back
they
in
do.
the day,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, back in the day, I mean, if you remember, if you are on a PvP server, I think, if you chose one faction, you could not create another character in the opposite faction on the same server.
Yes.
On that account.
Please have that be the case again, dude. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
So that's, you couldn't just log in on a level 1 character and ask for Discord info. So it could be a little bit more stressful to get in touch with those people.
There's some other
But I think if people, if they want to find a way, they will find a way.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, we're already kind of experiencing what it's like when you have server collusion and stuff on these private servers. But there was some stuff on the demo, like you could invite yourself to the group, kinda. You could just like right-click someone and suggest an invite. I'm wondering if some of that stuff will creep in. Like, what if they had a BGQ? Like a tab that was a BGQ in Classic.
Oh, like where you could queue from anywhere?
Yeah.
Everywhere?
Yeah, like a little BGQ. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. You think it would mess it up?
Yeah, pretty much, because you could just, I don't know, you could just queue from wherever you are. I mean, I think you would leave the battleground where you joined? in
Oh
that case.
man, I sure hope that's not how it works, man. That would be so retail-y, yeah.
Because you could just stay in Burning Steppes or Fellwood all day, or Searing Gorge, and just open PvP the shit out of it between the queues without having the travel path, and that still steals you some time.
Yeah.
So it
might have an effect
important.
on world PvP too.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know. A lot of people I mean, Activision Blizzard has been getting a lot of flack recently. I mean, they've been going through some serious turmoil, so we'll see what happens, man. I'm really curious. I hope they don't mess it up.
I just think that there's a lot of companies that's going through some hard shit, right? Because the reality is that the world of gaming is changing. You know, a lot of stuff is changing, and they're trying to adapt, and they need to adapt. But the only thing that's important is that they don't try to be something they're not. You know, changing games into something they're not, reinventing them or whatever. Just make a fucking new game, right? If they want to make millions of dollars or billions, they should just create a new game, right? To start on a fresh page and not make people who already love something go berserk and, you know, be disappointed.
Yeah, especially fans that have invested in an IP, because when you get involved with a game and you invest in the IP, man, like, it feels so terrible when you feel like you've been betrayed on it. How would you guys describe, and we'll get into the PvP content shortly, guys, but how would you guys describe the era of gaming that we're living in? Because stuff is changing, man. A lot of these big companies are getting a lot of flack. There's this push to mobile. There's a backlash to mobile. There's all these big companies pushing out classic retro systems and stuff. It's a very... I don't think I've seen anything like it in the games industry.
Yeah, I think we are at that point where people are sick of getting told what they have to do in a game. So it's the modern days, like if it's in Fallout or wherever, you have that open world, but you still have the set path where you have to go. It's not your decision where you if you go left or right, but the game decides for you what you should do to do it best. It's the same with like retail WoW and like I said, like Fallout, any RPG, whatever. And yeah, I think people are sick of that gameplay. They want to think for themselves again. And that's why we have so many classic.
That's a nice way to put it. And I think, you know, to tie this into classic WoW, I do hope, my fingers are crossed, that you know, all this backlash is resulting in the games industry kind of going back to its roots a little bit, and maybe games like classic WoW will be a catalyst towards kind of just bringing us back a little bit towards the roots of gaming. I don't know, it could be golden age thinking, but you see like the PS1 being released, but that was actually a flop. A lot of these other consoles, I know consoles aren't super big in Europe, but a lot of these old school consoles are being released, and you know, RuneScape and these other old school games are coming back in popularity. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we'll move on to the PvP stuff now. It's always good to talk about news for a minute. All right, so PvP overview. So we've covered a lot, guys. We've done 9 friggin' workshops now. We've talked about a variety of topics, but just as a quick overview, most of you guys might know that PvP in Classic WoW isn't necessarily balanced around the classes, but the items, especially at a top level of play, right? So in some ways, the classes are kind of, you know, simple. So you have these items, stuff like reaction potions.
That's me on the picture.
That's you. That's Taka's exact character, man. And the meta has evolved significantly since 2004. And some of these items are interesting to talk about because they're so, you know, essential to Classic WoW PvP. So we're going to talk about some of these items today. And the first one we're going to talk about is Skull of Impending Doom. Now, let me ask you guys, Taka and Sorrana, do you think this is the best PvP item in the game?
I would say it depends on class.
Exactly, yeah.
No. Depends on class.
Yeah, for mage, druid, rogue, it is really important. So I would say, I mean, if you have those hardcore duel sessions, then most of the classes could have use out of it. Maybe not a warrior. I couldn't see a warrior using it at something like that. But I think nearly any other class could use it in a duel type of situation. And in battlegrounds, I mean, it's a little bit different. and I think it's more class dependent on in battlegrounds.
Class
what
dependent.
you.
So even as a rogue, I mean, are you using this as a rogue?
Yes, of course. Like rogue, it's really important as a rogue because you can get out of the most annoying CCs that people can put on you.
We'll talk about some of the stuff that this gets you out of, but it's such this item right here, Skull of Impending Doom, is emblematic of all things, all the reasons why a lot of people love vanilla, right? It's just this random little quest reward you get in the 40s. And I don't know if, I mean, maybe a few people were using it back in the day. I sure didn't use it back in the day, but I didn't really, rank, seriously at all. But, it's just this random quest item that you get in, like, the Badlands or something, mid-40s, that became so important in a PvP setting. So this is what it is, guys. It's an offhand item, and for those of you who are unaware of the item, +7 intellect, increases your run speed by 60% for 10 seconds, but deals 100 to 501 damage and drains 100 to 501 mana every 2 seconds. So the cooldown's 5 minutes, and at first glance to the untrained eye, this may look like, yo, why is this rogue using this item, right? But it's a very impactful item. And so you're saying, Sorrana, that the only class you can imagine that it it might be warrior, right? That's not using this all the time.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, simply because you put it in offense, and warrior is just big dick zug damage, or like sword and board to reduce some damage, I would say. I mean, maybe Taka can answer more precisely, but I don't see a warrior just. I mean, you have the 30-second on use equip cooldown, so whenever you swap an on use item, you need to wait 30 seconds that you can use it actually. And for warriors, that's like the worst case scenario, just to wait 30 seconds with only a main hand weapon equipped. I don't think that's worth it to swap around.
If you're defending something, right, and you want to make sure that you can't, if you're two guys, maybe you're standing somewhere guarding a flag with a healer, you can equip some shit like this because you have a healer next to you, and you just want to make sure that you can't both get CC'd, right? But I mean, it's of course it's situational. But as a warrior, you have different ways of getting out of sap and shit like that, which could potentially be more beneficial. But of course, should you do the quest? Definitely. Is your life depending on it as a warrior? Absolutely not. Is it fun to just go in like a crazy doing the chicken emote? Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, the chicken. So that's the thing about this item too. It gives you a chicken emote when you use it, right? It's funny.
I mean, people still use it in PvE as well to like do speed runnings or whatever. Just having that speed increase is a big deal.
Yeah, so there's two pieces to this item, guys. Like the first kind of more straightforward value add that you might look at and go, yeah, it's pretty good, is the run speed. It increases your run speed by 60% for 10 seconds on a 5-minute cooldown. So you're like, wow, that's like a sprint, And then you think to yourself, oh, but it deals damage and eats some of my mana, man. That's kind of a drawback. But in actuality, that's probably the best thing about the item, right? The actual damage that you're inflicting on yourself, because it's going to allow you to get out of CC stuff like polymorph, seduce, even stuff like blind, right? I mean, blind, rocket helm.
Yeah, every CC that is broken by damage.
But I mean, at some point they increased the damage, right? But I'm not sure if it was really low and they increased it and this is the result.
No, I think it was just broken.
Yeah, because I know that after Swifty made the videos, they increased the damage taken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Maybe it was they changed health to up to 1500 damage. I'm not 100% sure, but you can go. I think that he made a second video on that shit.
Maybe they increased it on maybe expansions, so it scales with your level or something like that. That could be possible.
I'm not sure, but I'm 100% certain that at one point they increased the damage because it was just too broken.
I mean, it's so crucial that you get it. It's RNG, but it's nice to to get a low tick, of course. And on private servers, it's kind of broken. I don't know if it scales with anything. Like if you have, what is it?
You could deal more damage to yourself.
Yeah, maybe. Because I don't know if it's just broken on private servers, but it can be below 100 and even above 500 sometimes. I don't know, sometimes I just get 76 ticks on my mage or something. Maybe it's because of dampen magic or something like that. I don't know. It feels weird sometimes.
So we got some questions in the chat. Maxwell Palmer, what's up, bro? Is the mana and HP loss much of an issue or much of a drawback? Now, like we said, it can be a huge plus and potentially the biggest value add from the item to prevent the CC. But I remember you saying a couple episodes ago, Sorrana, that the damage is not negligible, right? Like you have to actually be a little bit careful, or.
Yeah. Well, you want to have a good take, even like on servers where you have, where you just started on fresh servers, you have low HP and mana pool. That could wreck you, but I think it's still worth getting it. I mean, that's why you put it on something like a keybind, right? And you have some kind of keybind for your main hand weapon, like for your offhand weapon or your staff or whatever class you have, to replace it. So whenever you use it and you notice there's no rogue in the flag room to open on you or to blind you, and there's no CC coming or whatever, if you just pop it preemptively, like you're predicting stuff and it's not happening, then I would just instantly re-equip my weapon to avoid the damage. Because when you unequip it, the damage debuff is gone also. So you lose the speed and you lose the damage on you.
So when you switch off, when you switch back to your weapon, you no longer take that tick damage.
Yes, it's the effect of the skull is completely gone.
So in that case,
you can use it to suicide in PvP situation as well. So you don't get the,
so you don't give him that juicy honorable kill.
So no. I mean, in a PvE situation.
Oh, in a PvE situation.
If you're almost dying, you can use this and equip it and kill yourself, and you don't get the, what's it called, duration. What's it called?
Yeah, the durability damage.
10%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's useful for both PvE and PvP. Super good item. I don't know if they planned for this as an accident. It seems like it was just like a beautiful accident, man. Like a lot of the stuff in WoW feels that way. That the players made this item good and made it part of the meta. I don't know if Blizzard, when crafting this level 40-something frickin' offhand item, thought it was going to be meta defining. But yeah. So
I feel they put a lot of shit in the game and just sat there waiting for us to discover it.
Stuff like Title Charm too. I mean, that one's a little more obvious why it would be good. But okay, could you paint a picture, Taka or Sorrana, on how to use this item, right? So let's say you're riding on your mount, level 60 through Stranglethorn Vale, and you have this equipped. What would the actual order of operations be? And because a lot of people don't understand actually how to put this into practice to use a skull. Let's say it's like you're going up against a mage or something.
Sorrana is more the expert, right? Because he's using it like all the time.
Yeah. What's one of the most common scenarios that you face with a Skull of Impending Doom?
So first off, I always equip it if it's off cooldown. Like if there's 30 seconds cooldown left, I instantly equip it. Okay. That's so important for me. And you use it like as a rogue, you want to be prepared because you want to. I mean, you have this 30-second cooldown on use items, so you want to get rid of that and pre-equip it before actually there's any incoming or if you need it. And the thing as a rogue is your offhand is most likely only good for poisons in PvP and for some auto attack damage. Like your main hand is doing all the special abilities you do. So that's why you can sacrifice that offhand weapon damage for that useful Skull of Impending Doom. And I always equip it in case of Rocket Helmet, mages of course, because the polymorph. So let's say we face Warsong. It's Warsong week. You're defending your flag room as a rogue. you always want to have the Skull of Impending Doom in the first incoming of the Druids, because he will have the most likely he will have the rocket helmet ready. It's 30-minute cooldown, and let's say there are multiple premates going, so you face them. I don't know, every 30 minutes or whatever, and he didn't use it in the last game. Whatever. Let's say he has it. You want to be prepared for that. So whenever you open on him, if you have the chance to open on him, most likely after the stun lock, he will try to get rid of you with like Warstorm. Rocket helmet is a good way always, and same with the mages. They most likely have the rocket helmets equipped. I mean, some players, for whatever reason, they show their helmet on their character, so you can actually see the rocket helmet. On druids, it's a little bit harder because they are in shape, right? You don't see helmets in shapes. But yeah, if they show their helmet, you can see the rocket helmet, and then you can be prepared and like predict it. Some people do not show their helmet, so it's more like a stealthy kind of way. But I'm pretty sure that everyone who's like serious PvP and pre-mating has a rocket helmet.
Already, right there, dude. There's so much to unpack, dude. I'm really happy you've been saying this shit. So we're gonna keep proceeding. So basically, already a pro tip is to not show your helmet, right? Because you just don't want to show what cards you have up your sleeve.
Yep.
And so do you assume, first of all, that pretty much anyone out in the open world that, you know, maybe has the health pool and they look like they're not noob, do you assume that they have rocket helm equipped? Is that something that you play around? Or
yeah. I mean, it's only 5 minutes of cooldown on your skull. I mean, just try to predict it. After your stun lock as a rogue, most people need to get some distance from you. Otherwise you can just otherwise you can just keep pressuring them with your damage. So they have to get some distance, and because some classes are not able to do that right away, they want to buy time by rocket helmeting you. So whenever your kidney shot is like on 1 second left, just pop the skull and see what happens.
Is it an instant tick as soon as you pop it?
No, but
2 seconds?
I think it's doing it every 2 seconds.
Okay.
So yeah, and you want to do it a little bit preemptively before your stun ends because of the spell batching. We can talk about that later again. I think we have it on the
on
the topic list. Yeah. So the spell batching, like, shortly, is just it tries to collect the spells that should be done in the next time or moment, and then the server processes it and it happens. Like, and that's doing it does it like, I don't know, every 20 milliseconds or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but it's just gathering everything that happens, then processes it and just puts it on the player or whatever it is. So if you do it right when your kidney shot ends and you press it there, it could be too late, because on, like, with the lag and the MS difference, the druid could actually just rocket helm you or bash you or whatever,
right,
so you cannot use it.
You always want to think ahead. We always talk about this. Taka was saying it's like chess. You always got to think ahead of your opponent, and it's like rock, paper, scissors in some senses. Now, okay, so is this a fair statement right now? So when you use Skull of Impending Doom, you use it when you've exhausted your control options, right? So you have stuff like stuns or openers where you're able to control your target. Maybe it's a Hammer of Justice or something like that. And then once you've exhausted your control options and you think the person's going to try and retaliate and control you back, you pop that preemptively, and this will buy you time.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. If you are a mage, for example, and you are you're like, you forced the rogue you're fighting against, for example, you forced him to vanish already, or you popped his improved sprint, and then you have him trapped on a Nova, and you are like in that little dead zone where you can Frostbolt, Cone of Cold him to trigger the Shatter combo. He might blind you just to get rid of that Frost Nova, to buy some time to get rid of it, because the Shatter combo is just nearly instant kill later in the game. So he will most likely blind you, and that's where you can just preemptively pop it to expect the blind, and you don't have to waste your ice block on it.
And so when you equip it, there's a 30-second cooldown before you can use it, right? Because it's an on use.
Yes.
But you can instantly take it off, right, and put your weapon back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 1 second global cooldown in the game.
1 second global cooldown. So you have a macro that does that, I'm assuming, right? That yeah. So the other thing I was going to ask, so Taka, you may not use this as a warrior, but do you play around it still? Like, is there ways to like bait out skull usage or something like that? Does that factor into your decision making as a warrior? Or I mean, there's not, you don't, I guess you don't really have stuff like gouges or stuff that can be broken by damage.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, you have the grenades, you know, which will be broken when inflicted damage.
Okay.
You have the possible fear, and which will be broken, right? So those are your two main things that can pretty much save you from incoming damage or whatever. And but the thing is, I played only Alliance, so I mean, there's going to be a totally different way to approach the game as a warrior when I play Horde. You know what I mean?
Why is that?
Because then you don't have the same things to get out of fear. You don't have like 2 million Vortne wannabe mages with you know, the Will of the Forsaken. So I don't know. I can't really, you know, say that I face these things a lot as a warrior, because I feel like most people don't really care about using the Skull of Impending Doom. You know, if there are mages or rogues, I don't think they use it because they have other ways to kind of, you know, control me or get around things. And yeah, I mean, they should never really you know, have to worry about these things at that level that they need to use Skull of Impending Doom. I can't really see it, right? And I have hardly ever faced anyone using Skull of Impending Doom. But then again, I don't duel a lot because I feel well, you know, first of all, I don't like to reveal my secrets, even how stupid that might sound, that we are, you know, actually in a PvP workshop revealing all our secrets. But it's you know, when you're dueling, you're kind of like giving away your secrets to the opponent. And of course, I duel from time to time just to make sure that I know how to beat someone in a, you know, 1v1 scenario. But when you're doing BGs, you'll pretty much face those classes a million times before you even, you know, hit rank 11. So hopefully you know how to beat them even without duels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Sorrana can tell you, I can't really see the usage for a rogue or a mage to pre-use Skull of Impending Doom against a warrior.
Nope.
Yeah.
There's nothing it could save you from. I mean, rocket helmet.
Yeah, and grenade is a little bit too hard to play around, right? I mean, so okay, all right. So I mean, it gets really. I feel like it's pretty straightforward in some ways, using it against stuff like polys and stuff like that. But like Rocket Helm is instant cast, right? Blind is instant cast. You know?
The only thing,
So,
I feel like there's a problem with talking about these things, and that's mostly because they have 30-minute cooldowns. You know, so things that has a 30-minute cooldown. Why are you telling me that I will always have this? Blah blah blah. Well, no, you won't, right?
Right.
And so I just feel like things like Skull of Impending Doom and other things that has between 2 minutes or 1 minute or whatever up to 10 minutes. Those are the things that you need to, you know, get to know and learn and, you know, use to your favor or know how to counter.
Right.
But the 30-minute cooldown things, I mean, of course you're gonna face them. What are you gonna do? You know, not that much, right?
Yeah. So I mean, Skull is one of those, right? Though, so it's up. That's only 5-minute cooldown. So it's something that you face all the time, I'm assuming. So is the general thing, Sorrana? Like, I mean, as soon as you get off what you're trying to get off, right? Let's say it's a poly or whatever. Do you immediately take it off? You immediately switch back to like not take any more tick damage?
No.
Or is the movement speed useful? Yeah, that's
yeah, against mages, I mean, movement speed is helpful in every case. That's true. Depends on the tick. I mean, if it's ticking for 500, you might want to consider to take it off. But against mages, they usually double sheep you in case you have the PvP trinket. So when you activate the skull, you can hide it, for example, like the animation and the squawk. You can hide it with like shadow reflector and stuff like that. But if they sheep you, they most likely predict your PvP insignia. As a rogue, you can get out of sheep with your insignia. So that's why they instantly recast sheep after their first sheep, just in case you use the PvP trinket. And that's why I leave skull on for the second tick or even the third.
Is there situations, Sorrana, where you see the person with the skull in their offhand, and your damage is gimped, right? Your damage is gimped if you have this in your offhand, and they just go, okay, I can take this guy if he has skull in his offhand this whole time, and they just almost forfeit the control option. They try and just bait it, and then you're stuck with just one weapon?
Well, for rogue, it's not really a biggie. I mean, in PvP, you always take a fast offhand. So that's why it's most likely a dagger, and daggers never do that much damage. Like on auto hits, let's say it's ranging from like 70 to maybe, I don't know, 200 or something like that, with a little crit luck and stuff. So it's not a huge deal. And like I said, whatever special you do, like your Sinister Strike, Backstab, whatever, is always done by your main hand. So having a skull in the offhand isn't gimping your damage really.
Okay.
So it's always worth to use it. I mean, against warriors, like Taka said, if I have the skull equipped and I see a warrior incoming, before I open, I just switch back to the dagger to get the stats from it and the poison and so on.
Okay, okay. Is there any other classes that come to mind that you would just not even worry about it? You just switch right to your main hand? You just right to your offhand?
Depends. I mean, on the warlock, you most likely see the pet. If you don't see the pet, it's a succubus or like a imp. But whoever is using an imp in PvP, so it's most likely a succubus. You keep it. If you see a fell hunter or a white walker, you can swap to your dagger offhand.
Okay. Man, it's really interesting. Okay, so we went over how to get it, when to equip it. You know, people like Sorrana and a lot of classes. For the majority of the classes, you might want to have this on you all the time if it's available. Oh, we got Big North joining. Alright. What's up, North? Let me try and add you here. Give me a second, boys. Can you hear me, North?
He's muted.
Is he muted? Let me put him up here.
So yeah, but because we mentioned earlier that maybe the if you think that is important to have like things like skull just in case that someone could have a rocket helmet, I think it's still worth to be prepared for exactly that case. I mean, even though the chance is high that they used it in the last game or like I don't know, in world PvP just before they joined the battleground or whatever, I think it's still worth to predict it, because you can just swap it if you see him not wearing it or whatever. I mean, even if you use it and he didn't use the rocket helmet on you, it wasn't really wasted. The damage is not that it would kill you instantly, so I think it's still worth using it every time.
Okay. Now, if you see someone with a skull equipped, you don't. Is there a way to see skull ticking on you? That's the first thing. People that are unfamiliar with the item, is there a way to see when skull is active?
You hear it. It's squawking.
It's the chicken emote, right?
Actually,
you consistently make a chicken emote.
Chicken.
Yeah,
emote.
but when you pop it, maybe, and like if you pop it right before the sheep, for example, you won't see shit. And so you just hear it as much.
Okay, so you'll hear the chicken emote for a solid 10 seconds.
I think you can spam in the chicken emote, but yeah, like you only need to hear it like right when it's popped. But I've seen some people actually use chicken emotes just to bait it. They're pretty rare, but I've seen people use. Yeah, they have a chicken emote, which I've only ever seen like 2 people do, which are these random rogues in Angoro that I used to fight sometimes. But it fucks with you.
That is funny, dude.
Easy to.
It doesn't really accomplish much though. Like it does just give them like a little bit of an extended window, because then, you know, especially as a mage, right? Like I have detect magic. And so I just started running detect magic on them, so it didn't really, you know, it was a cheese thing that worked initially, but this doesn't work so much anymore.
I mean, they cannot
the first time it happened, it fucked with me.
That is actually so funny, dude. And it doesn't hurt. I mean, you could just bake in the emote to your macro for your abilities, right? And then if it helps like at all, then
yeah. But moving breaks the emote, right? And Skull from the Pending Doom just doesn't break the chicken emoting.
Yeah, but you hear the it's just I heard the sound, right? Like, and it just like it makes the sound go off. So I was like, oh fuck, he's got.
But it doesn't do the squawk.
Yeah, no, when Slash Chicken does the squawk.
No.
Yeah.
Every race does the impression of it, but I don't think it's the usual, like the exact squawk from
I think the squawk isn't the squawk different per race that uses the skull.
I mean, after the initial squawk, when you use the item, it does this one sound, the squawk sound, and that's unique. After that, they do the emote sound. Yeah, that's correct. But you hear the squawk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can.
That's fair.
You can cover it.
Do you think it's the best item in the game, North? For PvP?
Class. The best item
for some classes.
Mean, it's phrase best item is just like best. No, one of the strongest. Yes.
Okay.
Best offhand. Sure.
Best offhand.
By a
sure.
long shot.
Okay.
But like, is it better than Rocket Helm? Right? Is it better than Title Charm? Is it better than PvP Trinket? Right? No. Like, I'd say PvP Trinket's better than Skull for Mage anyway. Like, it depends on the class as well. Some people have like worse PvP Trinkets. In terms of offhand though, yeah, definitely best offhand. Like, it's definitely worth having on consistently. Because even if as Sorrana was saying, even if it doesn't fully go off, right? Like, even if you don't get it to interrupt something, like, if they had that item, the difference in stats, even if it's the best offhand in the game, is not going to be enough to matter compared to what it would gain you to have the skull in almost every single situation.
So when do you use it as a mage? Do you use it after? So Sorrana was explaining as a rogue, it's kind of straightforward in a sense because you use all your control, like you have your stun lock opener, and then you expect them to retaliate in kind of a predictable way. What is the mage use case for skull most often?
Mage use case for skull is mostly just like whenever you. I mean, it's the same. It's essentially when like you have. It also depends on the class. With rogue, it's like after you've used something that puts them in a situation where they need to CC you. Like, so in a rogue mage duel, if you catch them, like if you Nova them, they will most likely blind you. Like if you Nova them and they don't have they've used a vanish already. It's more likely the less things that they have up that they're actually going to use a blind on you. So it's essentially just like the best way to use it though, in my opinion, is like in a rogue mage duel, I like to just block after they dump energy on a on like any ability, like either try and preempt the Evis and block that, or just use it immediately after like a kidney shot. But it's better. It's essentially better after if they dump their combo points and they dump energy on you, then you try and block and then immediately use skull, because then you have a window where you're right on top of them because they're on top of you, and you use everything because the only thing they're gonna get off of you, the only way they're gonna get you off of them is by CCing you there. Like be it a rocket helm, be it a blind.
Okay.
So it's just knowing before, like if you have a window where you will win if you can stick on them for 10 seconds, then you use skull.
That's a very clean way of putting it. Oh man, okay, so if you have a window where you can do, serious irreversible damage or go for the kill or whatever, if you can have uptime for the next 10 seconds, you use skull.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Or like in like defensive situations, it's like if you know that you have to escape. Like if it's if it's not a 1v1, again it depends. Like your use case depends on what situation it is.
So it's like almost like an oh shit button for offensive and both defensive properties because
Yeah, exactly. Okay. You can use it. You can use it offensively, and it's harder to use it defensively. But defensively, yeah, it's essentially if you know that the rogue is going to try and like blind you as you escape, someone's going to try and sheep you. If a warrior is going to like fear sort of proximate to you, because those will. Yeah, if the warrior's going to try and fear you at all, because I'm pretty sure it's only the main target of the warrior that actually has the one-hit fear.
Okay. All right. That is interesting stuff, guys. All right, so moving on to the next point. Let's say we got grenades. Now, I know this is an expectation. I think Taka said it really beautifully before. You're just expected to have grenades to the point where you don't talk about if you have grenades. It's, you're expected to have grenades if you're PvPing. But people might wonder, when are you using grenades? throughout the course of the fight? And do you find yourself using more straightforward damage grenades, or maybe it's class dependent, or does the grenade crowd control effect, is that more useful to you generally? Is it right in the beginning of the fight? You open the fight and you just get it on cooldown?
For me, or
yeah, let's start
depends on the class.
Yeah, let's start with Taka as a warrior. We haven't heard Taka in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, like we said, you have different abilities that you can pretty much try to crowd control, or, you know, whatever, to buy you some time if you're facing a class that's potentially trying to kite you or something like that. So I would save all these things to when it matters, right? Because I see a lot of classes that just use shit on cooldown because they got it, right? And I'm not talking about anyone special, retro dins, but you know, it's a common mistake. Like you know, like North is saying, like, you know, you want to wait for that window where you know, can potentially swing the battle. You know what I mean? And if you can see the mage is you kind of, you know what the mage is trying to do, or at least you hopefully know. So is there a point of stunning the mage when he's got like you know, 2 ice blocks, and you know, he got what you call it, where you reset all the frost,
cold snap,
and blah blah blah, using a grenade right then? I mean, there's no point, right? You want to make sure that you can put some pressure on the mage, because if there's no pressure on a mage, you'll never win that duel, because the only way you'll win the duel is that you have the pressure. And I mean, yeah, so just time your things right. Never use shit on cooldown just because you can. Save it for when it matters.
So the chances are you probably won't be able to use multiple grenades throughout the course of a fight, and you want to save it for a high tempo
Depends on the
situation.
matchup. Depends on the matchup, though. I think that's why I said it really depends on the class. Like, for instance, warrior will probably only get 1 grenade against a mage. So it's really good advice to make sure that grenade's counting. I feel most like the best use of it is, and this sort of feeds into the mind games of it's really mage versus a melee class, is that when the mage cannot start hard casting. If you start hard casting in a duel when the grenade is up, you will be interrupted, because it's really hard once the grenade, because the grenade's a 1-second cast, right? And after the cast has gone off, for those of you who don't know how grenades properly work, after the cast has gone off, if you were where the grenade was when the cast finishes, I don't care if you're 15 miles to the fucking northwest of where you were before, you will be hit by that grenade. And so if a mage starts casting, right, that person has to immediately throw a grenade. And then so it means if it's on top of where the mage is, grenade's a fairly decent radius. It's not like incredibly large, but it's decent, such that the mage has a 1-second window to get out of that circle, right? And they're in the middle of a cast, so they have to see the grenade cast, and within that second, leave the area, which they're not going to do without a movement increasing ability.
So sorry, and if you don't, you're saying if you don't move within that window, it doesn't matter if you blink away, you'll be hit?
Yeah, even if you blink away, you'll be hit. Now, you see a lot of mages actually do that. They'll blink after the grenade is in the air, and they'll blink away, and then they'll get hit by a grenade, so they'll waste the blink like doubly.
It's almost like a little heat-seeking missile right there.
Kind of.
Yeah,
it's like because you get stunned if you're, you know, it's not when the grenade lands, right? It's when it gets thrown, you know.
Yeah, which is why people think it's like, oh, like grenades are weird, they're lag. But OG actually has a good video about how grenades work, where it's like if you're in the circle when the circle finishes, so it actually makes grenades a lot easier to cast, because it's like all you have to do is predict. The timing that you have to get used to is after a second, where are they? Not like actually physically the grenade has to come into contact with them.
Interesting.
Which is why you see these PvP videos where the grenade is thrown when the person is very, very fast, and they'll be really far away when the grenade hits them.
So forgive my ignorance, but you don't have to worry about projectile speed.
No.
Okay.
Just the 1-second cast time when that circle, if they're in the circle when the 1 second finishes, the grenade, doesn't matter how long the grenade goes, the grenade will only hit, right? The stun only goes off when the grenade hits, so the farther away it is, the longer it will take for the stun to actually...
Does like an iron grenade stun, is that DR with stuff like intercept or stuff like the rogue stun combo?
It's considered an incapacitate. I'm not 100% on that though.
It reads stun on the tooltip.
It does read stun, but lots of things read stun.
Orcs, yeah, orcs can resist it, so I think it's a stun.
But do you remember, Sorrana, do you get full value 3 seconds out of an iron grenade, the stun, or is it kind of like DR'd after you do your thing?
It's 3 seconds. I'm not sure if it is. Oh, so it's Rocket Helmet that shares the DR with fucking. Yeah, actually, I think the DR is considered stun. But I'm not sure what it lines up with. But it is an incapacitate effect. So when you hit someone, it will relinquish the stun. So you only get 1 hit with it. So that's why, like, for instance, as a mage, you don't want to, scorch into it. You want to, properly frostbolt.
But you can't get out of it with like Berserker Rage. And in-cap effects are broken by.
Yeah, it's considered a stun, but it works like an incapacitate. So I'm guessing the DR is a stun as well. Because it damage-wise, it responds as incapacitate, but mages can blink it and they can't blink out. So it's weird.
It also opens a lot of mind games, because you can have a macro where you throw the grenade and have a cancel cast macro where you just fake the grenade, and people will just stop their cast and move and something like that. So it's a good thing. Or even if you start throwing the grenade and you see you fucked it up by whatever reason, then just press the button again and cancel it.
Yeah,
don't trigger the cooldown.
Have a good stop casting. I actually never considered having a macro that has the stop casting in it. That's actually a smart idea. I just have my stop casting macro as my Windows key, and so like it's just easy. Like my hand, I'm a lefty, so my hand rests. My pinky rests on T, which is my grenade key, and my thumb rests on the Windows key, which is my stop cast. Unless I'm using a modifier, so you really do want it to be easy to be able to keep like cast cancel a grenade, because if someone's trying to juke you. With the grenade, you really need to make sure that you're going to land that grenade, because it is such an important cooldown. And just to speak to when mages want to use it, you aren't really using it for the damage most of the time, unless you've got like a dark iron grenade, which is it's not super expensive to make, but it's fairly expensive to make, but it does a shit ton of damage. I'm not actually sure how much damage it does compared to iron grenade, but iron grenade does around 300, I believe, and I think dark iron does. How much does Iron
does 132 to 219. That's what it says on the
only does 200. Yeah, dark iron does like 500 or something.
Okay. I mean, Sapper does 450 to 751 fire damage, dude.
Is dark iron just a bomb? Actually, it's not even a grenade. Yeah, no. So it's only the thorium grenade that you can actually use.
Taco, was that you saying that you just if you're running into a group of people, you all throw sappers and just do fucking massive AOE damage?
I mean, there's so many videos about this on YouTube. You can just look what people. If you have 10 guys using the sappers, whatever, how fast you just wipe out 40 people.
Yeah, I mean, like five mages can wipe a group of 40 people with the sapper.
but I mean, there was a guy here asking a really, really nice question.
What's that?
And this is that's for everyone. I mean, what would you recommend for someone just getting back into WoW after a couple of expansions who wants to get good at PvP again in Classic, of course.
In Classic.
In terms of all right. So that's a really nice question, right? Because a lot of people went away from Classic, played retail or whatever, or took a break. So I mean, North, Sorrana, Kargoz, you all know, and I mean, yeah, that's a good question.
What would you say to him? How do you think?
No. I'm asking you guys.
Oh, asking. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, I think one important thing.
Kargoz, what is your thoughts? What's your plans? Right.
Okay, so
just speak for yourself.
Yeah, my plan is to do research and find out what abilities the classes have, right? And the number one thing, though, I think that's going to help you is understanding your keybinds really well. Like just being able to not look down at your keyboard and being able to look up at the screen all the time is really going to increase your situational awareness and stuff. Because as long as you're in the phase of looking down at your keyboard, I swear you're playing it like 30%, man. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on it, but like I used to be in the same way. Like if I was coming back to WoW, I'd have to look down at my keybinds all the time because I'm getting back into it again. And you just start tunnel visioning on that, and your situational awareness is so low. So I'd play a class, do your research, and then get in there, put really comfy keybinds, and try and make an active effort to not look down at your keyboard and play, and to just be able to move and operate your character, you know, like that.
And to that point, I think one of the most challenging aspects of vanilla PvP compared to other forms of PvP, like, is the fact that you do have an insanely large amount of things that you actually need to be pressing.
Right.
So, like, compared to, right, like, even in TBC, right, I've been playing Netherwing lately, and I've been playing, you know, Frost Mage with, you know, Spell Seal, and you've got Shatter, and even you've got Ice Lance now, and Arcane Blast, and, you know, like a lot of other new abilities, you know, Water Elemental, which you have to like press during other things, but it's still not as challenging in my mind as typical vanilla PvP, because I don't have to, I don't have to be focused on, you know, using my lip right when I need to. I don't have to be focused on using, you know, FAPs correctly, or living action potions, or resto pots, which is really the meta of vanilla. So really having good consumable keybinds and making sure that your keybinds are able to be pressed in ways that make sense. So for instance, like if you're a mage, right, your cold snap needs to be so accessible, and you need to be able to press cold snap while pressing 3 other things at the same time. Your counterspell needs to be able to be pressed, because these things are off the cooldown. Your counterspell needs to be able to be pressed while you're pressing cold snap and frost nova at the same time. So you need to have keybinds that actually fit for 3 abilities at the same time, depending on the class, you know, as well as, you know, like mana gem also comes into that. That's why my mana gem is my scroll down, my counterspell is my scroll up, my cold snap is control scroll down. So I actually can't press, what's it called, counterspell and cold snap at the same time, which actually, you know, could be a problem, but I favor that instead for my trinkets, which I can both press at the same time, because that, I find that to be more important.
So that's a good point. Taka was saying the other day too that, like, with his stances, he wants his stances on a 1-button thing. For me, I always bound my stances on warriors on shift 1, 2, 3, and now I learned from Taka, like, that is bad. I need to put them on a 1-click thing, you know, because it's such a time-sensitive thing when you're stancing, and every class has those abilities that are super time-sensitive, and making those the most comfy, lightning-fast reflex bind will help you so much. So
yeah, so it's like when I played my priest back in the day, right? Let's say we were in a BG, and I have 2 warriors in my pre-made. You know, I just macroed dispelling one of them on scroll up, and the other warrior on scroll down. And if I'm not healing anyone, I just, you know, run and scroll that shit up and down, up and down, up and down, all the time. That means that if a mage is frost novaing, he's getting slowed, he's getting whatever, that guy is getting insta dispel before he even thinks that he was crowd control, you know. And it makes my life really easy. And I promise you, every priest that I ever told this to, or every person that can dispel, you know, you'll love it. Scroll up and down, bind those things, amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So the next topic we have up here on this list is swapping items back and forth. So we talked a little bit about, you know, what happens when you're swapping into Skull of Impending Doom. You're going to have 30 seconds you have to buy before you can use it, right? But you can swap to your offhand immediately. So when you're swapping trinkets, that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's the same thing, right? It's 30 seconds before you can get value from another trinket. So,
yeah, all unused trinkets, all things that have an unused effect take 30 seconds.
So let me throw something out there, and then just, you know, rip me a new one if it's incorrect. You go into a fight with a set of trinkets on, get value from them, then immediately swap into some other ones, so you can start ticking away at that 30-second on use and get value from a second set of trinkets, or
exactly,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That requires you to get out of
all
combat.
used trinkets. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
but yeah, I mean, if you have things like Black Hand's Breath, Hand of Justice, Dragfang Talisman, things like that, they don't have an on-use effect, so they, as soon as they are equipped, they give you the stats and bonuses they offer. But if they have an on-use effect, it's 30 seconds again.
So so potentially you can use an on-use effect trinket, then swap to stuff like that give you that passive effect and get value from them immediately.
Yeah, correct.
That's the ticket right there.
But usually if you're breaking combat anyway, it's gonna be more than possible to sort of like have a lull enough that, like, so if you're breaking enough that you can break combat, typically you can break enough to get use out of that trinket, and most of the time something like an insignia or a 16-man bag or you know, a title charm is gonna carry more weight than something like Dragfang Talisman is insane. So that's But like a Black Hen's Breath on the mage is not going to be nearly as important as most of the use trinkets that you have.
Okay.
So like a net after the title charm is almost always going to carry like a far more weight than
Wait, so
any
you would have to make a
trinket.
decision if you wanted to use. So you blow your on-use effect trinkets, whatever it might be. Do you have to make a decision on whether or not you're going to go just throw on some passive type trinkets, or you're going to throw on the next set of on-use trinkets? Is that a?
I almost I rarely encounter anyone who actually does that.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing when you're playing mages, and I'm not 100% about mages, right? North has to tell us, but I know that rogues, you know, you can get out of combat a lot, which gives you the opportunity to fucking swap around those trinkets like crazy, right? I'm not sure how it works with mages. Can you get out of combat while the target is sheeped, or? No?
Yeah. So you can just sheep, just reset, just swap trinkets.
Trinket menu is your key here. It's an add-on, and it saves. It has like a queue behind. So whenever you are in combat and you switch trinkets on the trinket menu, it puts a little icon of the trinket you selected on the corner of it, and as soon as you leave combat, it automatically switches it how you selected it.
Yeah.
And that's how you can even
pre-make those queues so that even when you don't, like even when you're not manually like saying, okay, I want this swapped out, it'll just swap it out for you.
Exactly.
So are you in a situation where you're using like 6 to 8 trinkets throughout the course of a fight as you're popping in and out of combat?
I mean, like if you're the thing is if you're the situation in which I use most of my trinkets is actually on defense in Warsong Gulch. It's the only time when I'm playing World of Warcraft in vanilla where I will have no trinkets up, because like wave after wave, because these extended fights, they're like it's like 6 minutes. You've got the fucking Benny Hill shit. And you're going around and you're fucking running and you're kiting people, and you use a 6 demon bag on the priest. And
God damn, that's so fucking cool, man.
And then you swap out to title charm, and then like maybe a shadow reflector for the warlock who's gonna try and fear you off, and then kill the flag carriers, and then you reflect the fear off of him, and then that swaps into maybe a death ray because you've got nothing else up. So
he's playing a tower defense game.
That's so insane, dude. That is. I don't think it's ever been like that in any other iteration of WoW, where it's like fucking you're just like fucking finagling 20 different trinkets and like blasting some dude over here, blasting someone over here. Like, it's crazy. I mean, so okay, let me ask you missed the first part of this. So what do you people say? I don't know. Okay, so I'm not trying to skew you on this. Like, so vanilla WoW is balanced around, you think, classes primarily? Do you think items primarily?
No, items.
Do you think it's items?
Items.
More so than class. But think about it this way: what if you couldn't just do a pre-made with 10 of the 10 fucked up classes, right? You're not going to win in that point.
I could win most Warsong Golds with 10 mages.
Okay, let's say you had an ideal BIS pre-made 10-man setup, right, in Warsong, right? Best, but they didn't have any items. Versus some fucked
10
up
mages with items.
Yeah, versus some fucked up weird ass.
10 mages with
all right,
items.
10 druids with items, dude. 10 druids with items.
10 druids with items win every time.
You would win every time. That's what you're telling me.
Every time. Mages don't have skull. The mages don't have. Right, you just rocket helm the mage, and there's it depends on the class. 10 mages would get away with it. 10 druids, maybe with the reduced kill potential. It really depends on how, it always is a question of extent.
Yeah.
It always is a question of extent. So yes, I mean, items matter a great deal. Classes matter as well, right? Like, it's just it's class and items matter.
I'd say that items balance, right, dude. They did whatever it is.
They did. It works very, very well. It works very well because it does really feel like the items that you get in the world through farming and through playing the game do give you so much power as an individual compared to those without, right? Because it mostly, it's easiest to differentiate between, okay, same setup, no items versus items. The difference is, excruciating. However, right, if you do have, if it were 10 warriors, right, against a pre-made setup, the 10 warriors would lose every time because the warriors don't have a skill set that the items can. They don't have a synergy with what's available to actually, push through. Whereas 10 druids actually might. Whereas 10 mages actually might. 10 shamans, right? Probably not, right? Because they lack.
But class
enough.
balance
Even,
is factor.
maybe
so class is a factor, right? But items are a huge factor as well. No one knows exactly where it's at. But I wonder, it's going to be very from class to class and situation to situation. But if you could be way under geared but have access to all consumables and you're on point, you have everything good to go. Are you going to be able to win a lot of fights?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like if I don't have any potions and I'm against a rogue with I've got rank 13 gear and this rogue has, Prebis, right? Prebis PvP gear, no molten core gear, and he's got like 2k less health than I do. If he pops a fucking right, and it's not just the gear that's the difference in terms of health, but health is probably the biggest differentiator there. If he pops a major healing potion, or he pops a greater frost protection potion, he now has the same health as I do, right? He's got the same, right? And that's why the consume meta has evolved so much on private servers. It used to be like when I played on Chronos 2, people a few years ago, no one carried around fucking health potions in every given time. No one had faps all the time. No one had lips like constantly. Like they didn't go carry around with these things. Now I don't leave Ironforge without like a full set of consumes because I'm too afraid of being embarrassed in the
especially
open world.
as a streamer too, dude. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, no, yeah.
There's a quick question here. This guy's asking, how would you guys prioritize getting these PvP items while leveling on a fresh server? I think it's a fair thing. We talked about it before, but real quick, if you could summarize. I think last time we said number 1 was Skull, right?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, Skull is really easy to get, and especially because of how tough it is to level. And how much stuff you need, especially around the 40 level, like the mid 40s. Old Demand is just a really good thing to do.
Where does Title Charm fall on this? If you could just get it, if you're
Title, you won't get Title. You won't get Title.
Title would probably come first though, right? Because you could always get Skull. You could always knock it out and do the quest with a few people. Title, yeah, if you could get Title,
you're not gonna get Title though. That's the thing. Like the people who are gonna get Title are the people who have the people.
One dude in chat might get Title. Get Title.
The thing is they're not gonna, unless they introduce dynamic, right? Title is gonna be its old self, which for those of you who don't know, its respawn is I believe it's 48 to 72 hours.
So vanilla.
So the respawn, the actual time that it can spawn, the window is not 8 hours, it's not 4 hours you sit there. It's an entire fucking day, right? It's a 24-hour period where you have to be sitting and waiting for the spawn. So it's going to be incredibly difficult. On launch, there's going to be people who go for it. So that's actually something that you could rush for, but you could then, deprioritize a lot of things. You'd have to get multiple people together to go and kill it early and then have an agreement on who would be getting it, and then it might not even drop. So you'd be sort of pivoting a lot of your effort early on that you were ahead of the pack enough to get people who are, say, level 20 and level 25 to go and band together and kill Nazjack, because he's not that hard to kill if you've got a couple people.
I gotcha.
But you'd be using an incredibly large amount of time. So it's most likely going to be like a hunter who just happens to be, one of the first hunters might go prioritize that, or a group of 2 or 3 might be able to do it. But most of the time, it's not going to be worth it for most players, which is why I say you won't get it. You can get it, but realistically, it's actually not right. Early on, it is a big deal, especially if there's no PvP rewards and there's no PvP trinkets, because it's going to be having trinkets will actually be a huge deal, especially in the first week. If no one has any trinkets, except for a loofah, and you've got a fucking Title Charm, that's actually
fucking
insane.
Loofah, dude, love that item. All right, boys. So let's move on to class matchups. Here's an interesting Reddit thread. You guys might have seen this. It was on Classic WoW subreddit. We're gonna try and do this. I think. Well, we'll try it out. We'll see if you guys like it or not. Kind of doing some reaction to some Reddit threads here. So in this Reddit thread, this guy's going into a breakdown of each class's PvP strengths and weaknesses versus other classes. I think a lot of people are interested in this. They want to know, who am I strong against? Can you throw a link
to this?
Yeah, it's right there on the on this PowerPoint thing. But let me see if I can paste it actually.
Can you just throw it in?
Yeah. Let me throw it in the Discord call.
Sorry, I'm
no worries. All right, so this guy says, thought it would be interesting to get some more experienced players' input on what are the toughest and also the easiest opponents per class to defeat in PvP. I've only played a few classes seriously, and at some point realized that knowing the enemy's skills and strategies is indispensable to playing well. Blah, 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 blah. He starts off the list. He welcomes any corrections. This takes balls, right, to throw out your position. On PvP, it's so polarizing, so let's see what this guy has to say. I want to see if you guys agree or not.
God, this guy, oh no.
Let's see. All right, so I'm going to throw on this thread on the stream, and we'll see what people think. Okay, browser.
Oh, dude, this guy is this is no good.
Think, man. Let's see what you think. All right, man. So
this is no good.
So all right, let's go to Mage just to trigger North. All right, so Mage Frost, right? Toughest enemy, Shadow Priest or Elemental Shaman?
Which the Shadow Priest is there. He's lacking Warlock. Which is really disappointing.
He says Shadow Priest has the upper hand with Dispel and Silence, and Ela Shaman has Earth Shock and Healing. Is that...
So that's not like that. That's just that's not the reason why Shadow Priest is strong against mage. Shadow Priest is strong against mage, though. He's right in that. Like he's definitely not off kilter with that. Shadow Priest is a very challenging matchup. My biggest problem with this actually is if you look up, it says hunter marksmanship, easiest mage.
Okay, well this is why we're here. This is why we're here. We're having fun with it, all right? So easiest for mage is warrior. What do you think about that?
That's absolutely correct. That is
okay,
absolutely
let's keep
correct.
going. Let's keep going.
But sort of like what he's saying with like he's essentially putting Mage Frost. He's putting Hunter as one of the hardest matchups. Is essentially what he's doing there. He's saying Hunter will just sort of dick all over Mage, which is something that when people couldn't play Mage, right? When you had dial-up connections and your spells would come, you know, like 5 seconds late.
But is there a chance we get some badass Hunter in here and he's an enthusiast for that class and he's like, yo, Mage, easy peasy, easy clap the Mage all day?
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. A good Hunter actually knows.
I just have to say that I'm playing fucking level 57 mage, and I'm killing tier 2 geared fucking hunters. I mean, like
it is such a strong like that I almost like it's not. I don't think it's that strong because I think you really do need gear. For me, it's a matchup where you do need a base amount of sort of stamina and intellect because you just need to survive the initial burst of the hunter to get close enough. And upon getting close enough to the hunter, you can kind of just sort of sit in their face and spam Arcane Explosion, which is something that a lot of mages maybe prior to patch 112 or 111 with the mage change to make Arcane Explosion instant. They might not have had those talents. They might have not had the right talents. They might not have been going Frost in the way that they should have. So it might have been more challenging for them. But in the 112 meta, right, where you can gear enough to essentially just spam in their face, it is one of the easier if you're a decent player.
So far you only have one thing. So far you only have one issue though, just the marksmanship thing, right? So mage you generally kind of think is fine. Shadow Priest
also shaman. Shaman is not a very hard matchup if you're actually good at mage. So it's like
Ellie shaman.
Yes, if you put
Ellie shaman, right?
Yeah, Ellie shaman.
Okay.
So that's actually something that I've talked a lot about on stream, and it's people like, oh, like isn't Alliance mage weaker because they have to deal with shamans? Shamans, while they do have Earth Shock and it can be annoying, they only have one interrupted spell.
So,
right?
What is your toughest and easiest if you had to as a mage, knowing everything that you know?
Toughest is Shadow Priest, but it's not because of the dispel, it's not because of the silence, it's because of it's essentially dots and like their ability to self-sustain with shield and essentially their ability to wear you down, right? Like it's a long. Same thing with Warlock, which is the other hardest matchup. They can sustain against you, and they have solid CC in the form of fear that you like. It's hard to sort of work.
And
through.
easiest is warrior.
It's not really
Are you aligned with that?
Easiest is for sure warrior, but hunters do not have their easiest matchup being mages. That is such a joke.
All right, let's go to rogue. Let's go to rogue. We haven't heard from Sorrana in a while. All right, he said rogue, not even sure what the best PvP spec is. All right, this guy has balls, right? He's going out in public. He's putting his opinion out there. You don't see a lot of people doing that, man. This takes balls. This guy's just doing his best, right? So he said toughest is elemental shaman, not sure. And easiest is warlock if the rogue gets the jump on a squishy defensing class like Locke. So, all right, okay. A for effort, dude. What do you think? What do you think about rogues, Rana?
Okay, that's hard. I mean, I always, if I answer that questions, I always see myself playing against someone who's really good at their class, right? Because everything else you just win. If they are worse than you, then you win, right? And it's most likely if you're equally skilled. I wouldn't say Ele Shaman is toughest. They are tough, yes, because they can kite you and stuff, but you can play around that. But I think a really good played hunter is even tougher than a mage.
Okay.
Because like mage rogue duels are so many mind games to I don't know.
There's a lot of openings in a mage rogue duel. There are a lot of ways to win or lose.
Yeah, right.
So it's not even that it's hard. It's honestly the most fucking fun matchup in all of mage rogue. It's so
right.
Fun.
But hunters are just annoying. I mean, they have so many tools and stuff to keep you off them and to break your stealth.
But also it depends on like whether you're talking about like consume or non-consume duels. Because like if you go consume duels,
with consumes, we'll talk about with consumes. Yeah.
So if you go on like consumes for rogue versus hunter, right? If you're spamming like or like even as a mage, if you're spamming like faps and most like importantly potions of poison resistance as a mage, or even as a rogue to like get out of the to get out of the dots that they have on you to vanish off, then you are very, very strong. Like mage should never even fucking blink at a hunter if they're spamming potions poison.
Yeah. But do I use a flap in front of Ironforge dueling a hunter? Nah.
Yeah, exactly. So
probably not. So that's why I would say hunters.
Okay, so hunter would be hardest for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
By default, yeah, the hardest. Warlock
because you can't get the opener in a hunter if the hunter doesn't want you to get the opener. Like you literally cannot. Like, right? If they just sit on a flare obnoxiously.
Yeah, you could be lucky with mind control helmet if you want to do it, because he can't control the pet if you mind control him. So you can get the easy restart.
Well, just make him follow. Right? Could you toss a grenade in there?
Yeah, but that would.
But then you're on stealth.
Okay, okay,
you're in combat because yeah.
Okay. So if you have the successful mind control helmet, you just run away, make him unfollow, and pull him out of the flare and his trap, and the pet can't do anything. Damn. You can just restart.
Yeah, but then you're relying the entire like duel is then predicated on what essentially is a 50-50 because my mind control cap never fucking worked.
All right, so what is the easiest as a rogue, dude? What do you think? Like, so you have tough, we have hunter, we have warlock. Everyone thinks warlock is hard. I'm playing warlock.
It's definitely not. Yeah, it's definitely not the warlock. Warlock is one of the harder classes as a.
Easiest. I mean, you just all day, just in the fucking open world, all day, bang, 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 just taking them out.
You're like
just
priests,
racing them.
No? Priests, hard. Nah, I don't know. I mean, if I see equal skilled people fighting against me, I have a hard time every time. And if I would rank it from my experience, it would probably be warrior, because against the warrior, I always feel in control of the duel. I can kite him. Even though I know when my crippling is running out, I know when to reapply it, I know when he's charging, I know when I fuck up the dead range. So I think warrior is the most comfortable situation I could think of, because like priest, like tier 2 equipped priest with BWL trinket, oh man.
That's fair, actually.
It's not fun.
Well, I love how so this ties into warrior, right? So now it's Taka's turn. So it's funny, he puts for warrior easiest rogue, and I always thought that as kind of a vanilla, kind of a vanilla noob though. North, I'm representing the kind of noob population. I'm not you fucking big brain weirdos, all right? I always think warrior, easy clapping rogues all day, right? You fucking overpower their ass, hit them with the bleed. You know what I mean? All day. Taka, are rogues easy for you? What is your hardest and easiest class matchup as a warrior?
I fucking hate rogues. I fucking
little depressed, Taka.
It's like
rogues are not easy to kill as a warrior. I mean, that's such a joke. Like,
if you're trying to kill a rogue, that's good. As a warrior, he's gonna do like one hit, reset, one hit, reset, kite you is like, you know, it's like this fucking most. You're this potential like Goliath, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all he's doing is like, you know, running just in front of you.
He's just like poking your ankles and just like running around.
He's throwing Skittles at you, dude.
Yeah.
You feel like in bullet time, man.
Yeah, but I mean, in my experience, the easiest class to kill, I would say warlock.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of ways to get out of it. I mean, how often are you gonna face a soul, you know, like a 6k stamina warlock, right? Not that often. But I mean, in general. But what is the hardest class? I would say any person that knows how their, you know, mechanics work, and their I mean, definitely mage and away from it, definitely mage and roll, right? But I mean, potentially
they don't need to know their mechanics. They need to know how to press Frost Nova.
Frost Nova and cold and just
literally that's the thing about like warrior and rogue. Like, I commend people who play warrior and rogue, because you need to always be trying against good people. You need to always be like focusing and shit. Like, it's like, if a warrior were to try and beat me, like, even if that warrior is good, right? Like, if that warrior is good and, you know, like, has like way better ping than me and, you know, like outgears me and shit, they have to pull off some serious like Einstein level shit to just even come and like kiss my boots.
Okay.
Right? Because my class is so stupid. Like.
Okay. How about Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, just you know, hardest class, just you know, to make people understand that any class that has, great knowledge of their own class and great knowledge on the class that they're fighting will always take advantage of your weaknesses. And as long as you're a melee class fighting against a caster or ranged class, you should always lose, right? Because the ranged class has every advantage, and rogue has some.
I don't know if that's true. Like, right, it's like you shouldn't always lose. Like, rogue shouldn't always lose against mage. They should lose most of the time, but
says the mage.
No, I mean, I think that like if the rogue is better, they will beat the mage. There are avenues to beat the mage, but if you put two people who are like honest to god equally skilled, on mage and rogue, I think the mage should win. I just think that there are more tools available to the mage because I think just mage.
For anyone getting depressed about the classes they want to play, though, I just want to say, would you guys agree, you big brain weirdos? I'm gonna just keep calling you that. If you're a better player, if you just outclass the person in skill, your binds are on point, you got the consumes, you can beat any other class. Is that a fair statement?
Exactly. With very few exceptions, because even like a good warrior, right? Like, I don't know if anyone's seen like some like videos of fucking Zulp just like smacking down mages that like don't like understand like how to actually fight into a warrior, and like when they like got like a very good, I remember like T Mugsy was dueling him, and T Mugsy has like a lot of gear, and Zulp does as well.
He has a top Parsons EG.
T Mugsy top Parsons.
He does, dude.
Well, anyway, no one fucking speedruns fucking ZG. Anyway, Storm Slam, he like got CC'd, and T Mugsy played the duel very cheaply, like he did not play with a lot of honor, to be honest. And despite that fact, like when T Mugsy finally got this good setup, because a good warrior will stick on you for a while when using all the items, when using all the consumes, when being very, very obnoxious about the consume usage. As soon as T Mugsy finally got away from Storm Slam, he started just laying into him. And the dude, he doesn't rack, he doesn't, he fucking shield walls. And T Mugsy's sitting there deer in the headlights, he's never seen a fucking warrior shield wall him. And he blows his load into Storm Slam. He's just sitting there like a fucking, like a goddamn blind deer. And he just, as soon as the shield wall ends, he fucking intercepts, and he just two-shots him. Right? And he's dead. He's on the floor, right? So there are avenues to winning, right? If that were me there, right, in the same amount of gear, I wouldn't have fucking laid into the shield wall. I would have just, probably, just fucking sat with a rank 1 Frostbolt, prepared some shields, bandaged up as he was sitting there CC'd, because I'm not going to do good damage to him while he's being shield walled. So there are avenues around it. But if you are better than other people, which is if you are a good player, it's going to happen most of the time. Most of the people you will face are not these.
And I think that's a refreshing thing, because we don't know what the exact percentages are, but because items play more of a role in PvP than any other iteration of WoW, it almost allows you a higher level of tryhardness. Like, you can kind of fucking go above and beyond and not have as many limitations to your class and be able to fucking beat people that should counter you, right? If you just
because the items do shore up those issues,
right?
Like, the items do so much shore up those issues.
Super cool thing about vanilla, man. Super cool thing. All right, so let's see what he put on here for some of this other stuff. Okay, hunter, druid, fair. Okay, someone asked about druids. I was gonna ask. So, resto druids, pretty strong, man. I heard that resto druids can counter mages pretty good.
I mean, resto druids, right? The longer the fight goes on, the more chance the resto druids is gonna beat everyone else, right?
Yeah, druid is resto is very strong. Usually resto is like resto feral mix, so it has feral charge. And it does most of its damage via feral, so it can like sort of, right, it just does free damage via feral. That doesn't cost any mana, and then it can swap out and heal and sort of CC at will, which is very, very strong. It is, and actually, I think one of the best counters to mage, although it doesn't feel as countery as warlock, is balanced druid. Actually, it's a balanced resto hybrid mix. It's something that Final Flash actually made very popular. And essentially, what you do is you just roll dots and you heal. Like, you just roll insect swarm, like Moonfire dot.
I love
and
it,
fucking
dude.
Heal, and it's super obnoxious. It's the worst.
I don't
A
know.
lot of running.
A lot of running.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's a big part for me, at least for me. Like, I don't know, being a class where you feel like you can hold your own 1v1 out in the open world, I think it's kind of a big deal. People have kind of an ego, it feels so terrible when you're getting fucking owned 1v1, right? And you know, that's a cool thing to throw out there for people that are potentially want to play druids. Out in the open world PvP, where they're not limited by, you know, a certain dual range or whatever. Druids are strong, man. Druids are strong.
I think druids are one of the best classes in the open world. I think hunter, druid, and mage are the most interesting classes to me, in part because the most fun that I have in vanilla, to be honest, and especially as a streamer, is, you know, escaping from people who really want to kill you. Like, so if someone commits like a lot of resources to killing you, and you get away from them, right? You don't even have to kill them, right? Killing them is that icing on the cake, but the fact that you essentially win by cucking them, right? You don't have to kill them yourself. You getting away from them is enough in and of itself, and often you can take 1 or 2 people down before that happens. Say 3 people gank you. As a mage, you can easily kill one and then just fucking run.
Yeah.
Depending on what their classes are. But
yeah,
druid
you told me before, you like the finesse. You like
that.
to be able to get in and out of combat, whereas warlocks are kind of a
and
turret.
druid is the only class.
All right,
I think that's.
Let me ask you guys. So Sorrana and Taka especially, do you guys have a class that interests you the least in PvP that looks like it would just be boring as shit to play, or that you don't identify with?
Sorrana, you go first.
Let me think.
Think about all of them, man. A lot of people feel a certain way towards hunters, I'll tell you that. Some people really fucking despise the hunter playstyle. I like it, dude. I played hunter a lot, but I've been getting a lot of that recently. People say, I'd never play a fucking hunter.
I played hunter and it was really good. Then I played mage again, and that was really good as well.
Okay.
I think something that, I don't know.
I think there's a common opinion here. I think there's a common opinion, and I'm curious as to why you guys aren't.
I would say
jumping on it.
It's between some kind of healer and warrior, probably.
And warrior. Oh damn.
Yeah, warrior doesn't fit my playstyle. It's too much zuk for me. I couldn't.
What does that mean, dude? Is that just like big dick fucking red, like eyes roll back in your head and you
me warrior, me hit things
like
yeah,
beat grinder just charging and start swinging? All right.
All or nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing in between. It's 0 or 1.
Which healer though? Was it paladin, priest, druid, shaman?
I think priests are is more offensive, and I never played a paladin in classic, to be honest. So I would say paladin by my little unexpected soul, but I
3 buttons.
Okay, all right, paladin. You guys are all alliance, and you guys feel this way about paladins. How about you, Taka? Which ones interest you the least, given your playstyle?
I mean, I would definitely say paladin.
Yo, paladin.
I'm sorry, guys. I have one of the people.
That's right, Esfand, up yours, buddy.
Oh my god, this is a whole nother level.
I have to say, one of the people that I love the most is a paladin called Kathleen.
He would be called Kathleen.
Yeah, we play with him on Astarius. And this is one of the best PvPers I ever seen.
There's nothing quite like a great paladin, because paladins have so much strength. Yeah, like paladins are such a strong class, but it's actually like I've talked with a lot of paladins, and just like from observing paladins from afar, I feel like you do in reality. There's so little to actually excel at. Like it's really, and this might just be me shitting on paladin, but like there's so little that you actually do. There's so little interactivity between your class, because your class has so many buttons that are do not affect me. I'm going to insulate myself from everyone and do what it is that I want to do. I'm going to have this freedom go off in this warrior so that no one is slowing me down. I'm going to have this bubble go off and I'm going to heal as much as I want. I'm going to have this blessing sacrifice go off and no one will CC me, right? So it just has a lot of things that are very, very incredibly strong tools that make Paladin a very strong class. But in terms of like whether or not it's interesting, based
you don't have that lightning fast finesse like you're on Warsong using 8 trinkets. Fucking chill.
Exactly, and although like even despite that fact, I think Paladin remains interesting because of the item meta.
Okay, gotcha. How about Shaman? You guys are all Alliance players. Does Shaman look interesting from the other side?
The thing with the Shami is that when I look at it, you have so much potential, you have the totems and blah, blah, blah. And I feel, playing a Shami really well looks so fucking awesome. And then I mean, if I try it, I just feel like my brain got shut down and I'm like, Wait, what totem?
Shaman is really fucking hard to play.
I'm supposed to hit what totem, and where's the macro for the what the fuck? And I just, give up. It makes me feel stupid.
Yeah, hybrid classes as a whole, like Druid is exactly the same. You can do so much shit. It's insane. And to think of all of that is just.
But the thing with Druid, I don't know why Druid just. When I started to play a Druid, I just felt like this is my, everything about it just feels natural. So, but then I tried.
Hell yeah.
And it was. Motherfucker, no way.
The shaman. A shaman has the most binds, right? Am I crazy? For sure, right? Shaman has for sure the most binds. They have like 97 totems, dude.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. I just as much as people like shamans, and shamans are cool and they're very strong and they're hard to play. I just don't like totems, right? I think it would be I don't like it's not like I don't like shamans are the worst. I think they're really cool, and I think that that has to really speak to you. But the strength involved in little stationary pets.
North, are you scared of commitment? Are you scared of big station?
I hate.
Are you scared of investing in a location, dude?
I hate pets, and I hate being you're a fucking turret. It's the same shit as warlock. Shamans are so tough. Oh my god, but they're fucking turrets, man.
You want to be able to blink off into the sunset and start a new life whenever you want, dude.
Exactly.
You just
you be able to fucking travel for them and get the fuck out of there.
See, I'm the opposite, dude. I want to stand. I want to shelter in place, dude. I want to put some sandbags up, put the rifle up, and I want to fucking have all the supplies right there, and I want to shelter in place and take on anyone who comes in, dude. And I ain't scared of commitment, dude. I got my little area. I'm gonna be in my area. I welcome the people in.
But I mean, regarding the paladins, talking about getting bored, people in the chat saying that a lot of paladins gets bored easy, and that's probably why we see paladins going they go really hardcore, try to be the best healer. Then after you're farming BWL, suddenly this healer is not healing as well as he did. And it pretty much turns out that he's fucking retted in spamming fucking heals. He wants every two-handed weapon in the whole fucking game, and yeah.
But that's only the Red Bull, okay? No, not everyone is like that. I think it's not that easy as it looks or sounds like, because in competitive PvP, even as a paladin, you have to think a lot. You only have those hard casts besides Holy Shock to heal someone. You have to fake cast a lot. You have to keep track of your sacrifice, of your freedoms, of all of your group members and targets, of the down ranking of the healing, on your hard casts so that you're not getting interrupted, on your cooldowns of the bubbles and so on. So I think it's not that easy as it looks.
But isn't the paladin dedicated to heal the front runners like the warriors, right?
Yeah, but that's why people think it's so easy to counter him, and it is really easy to put a counter spell into him. But that's why paladins need to be a step ahead of the enemy team, because they also know they get
paladins are while they're easy to counterspell, they're actually one of the last targets that all counterspell because they have so much resistance to it. With what the fuck's the aura? They have aura of concentration,
aura,
which
right?
gives them which gives them it's a 33% chance to just completely resist all interrupts.
Improved, right?
And everyone goes that because it is just a strong thing to go. So it's bad, yes, if you get counterspelled as a paladin, then you have to sit there, so sometimes paladins will preemptively bubble when they really do need to make sure they're healing and don't get interrupted. But more often than not, I will avoid using counterspell into paladins for that reason, unless there's no other good target for it. Because if I do it to a priest, the priest, if you do it to paladin successfully, then they can't bubble and you can burst them out. So that actually is very, very strong. But there's a 33% chance that it's just not going to work. Right, and so that's sometimes I'll actually switch grenades out for dense dynamite against orcs, because if an orc resists the grenade, they also resist the damage. So I'll say fuck it all together, and I'll use I have a keybind that's right next to my grenade for dense dynamite, because I'm just I'm not gonna. There's a 25% chance that this is just fucking useless, and then I'm sitting here and I'll have casted a fucking grenade, spend a second of my life. Right, throwing a thing that doesn't fucking matter. So I'll actually just swap it out.
How about ret paladins? Let's say with duels, are they good? They're good duelers, right?
We just have to go back to the. There's a guy in chat Kaiser, he says, I would rather do Ironman challenge as a warrior than fucking play a Paladin.
Oh man.
Paladins are literally designed to be low IQ. Like they had this in the class panel. After Vanilla was released, like at the BlizzCon of the class panel, and they were like, Paladins we made for introductory play. Like we wanted to be
wait, say that again. Who said that?
They actually had that. One of the designers, like one of the designers of World of Warcraft.
Introductory play?
Yeah, they literally I can find the clip for you. I can actually find
that is crazy.
Class panel vanilla.
But I don't know that like about the dueling thing. Like Red Paladin is really strong when they can in World PvP when they can gather their wreck bomb stacks. In duels, it's a little bit harder. I don't know if sitting down is working on Classic. I think that's only like a private server thing to stack it up. I don't know if that's working. But thing is, I have met Paladins like Taka. You remember Jershette, right? Yeah. He's doing the most meme specs you will ever find on a fucking Paladin. It's like sword and board, kinda red hybrid something. And he's destroying me in duels just because I can't do much. It's insane. I have to reset so many times. The good thing about Paladins is that they don't have any ranged spell besides Holy Shock, which is also limited. So you kinda can reset on range if you have something to slow them down. They also don't have any
on-demand
Kargoz. Freeze frame at this YouTube video at the second that I have.
Let's see here.
It says intended to be an easy class to play.
Let me see this, dude.
BlizzCon 2005.
Oh yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, it changed a lot since 2005. So.
Yeah.
Would take that with a grain of salt.
Well, which second? 2 seconds?
No, it should be 3 minutes and 40. It should be right. It should send you right to the 3 minutes 45 seconds.
3 minutes 45 seconds. 3 minutes. Man, dude, it looks so freaking old at this point. 345?
Yeah.
Very oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, see that?
Would be an easy class to play.
Oh god. Oh man. But you know, at this stage, do you think they really were thinking about Skull and all these crazy things back then too, man? I don't think they what they intended and what actually happened is, you know, crazy. It's very different.
Paladins don't use Skull. Paladins don't use Skull. Like 99% of the time, Paladins aren't using Skull. They don't need it.
Okay.
They have Blessing Sacrifice, which is the same thing.
Okay.
But no, I'm actually serious. They don't have to. They have so many things that insulate them. Like the point of the item meta, right? Or the consume meta and the item meta is to be able to do the things that your class enables, right? Is to use these items so that you can continue to do your job. Most of the time, it's just like it just feeds into what you were already good at, right? And sort of like that's why I think it's interesting. It allows you, it enables you to do what you would otherwise be interrupted in doing, be it, you know, like running the flag as a mage, so you use Skull, right? Be it you know, most of the time it's, you know, like having speeds that you can run it faster. So certain things do enable you to also like do extra things. Most of the time it's just enabling you, you know, fat warrior, don't get CC'd all the fucking time. Lip mage, don't get two-shot by the fucking rogue, or, you know, be able to move despite the hamstring. So it actually, you know, like it does largely do that. With Paladin, the abilities of Paladin, largely speaking, are to do that already. It's bubble so that I can use my abilities, right? Blessing of Sacrifice so I can.
So to be clear, you're not denying that they're very incredibly strong, potentially even making
alliance.
Oh,
they're so strong.
It's just that they're boring as fuck, and you think the skill cap is kind of lower. Okay.
The skill cap is unequivocally the lowest of any other class. Unequivocally the lowest. Like there's such a small potential to be like amazing as a paladin. That being said, there are so few paladins who actually fucking play. And
alright, boys, like, I'm switching mains. Sign me up, dude. Hard. Sounds like the good life, bro. You just chill, fucking eat Oreos, and then get some serious.
You do though. You can like you have one hand on the keyboard and you got the other hand on your junk because like it's fine. Like you don't need.
That's a great quality of life feature right there. All
yeah,
right.
no, it is.
All right.
Especially while leveling, dude.
So we got 2 things more to cover in this panel, boys. The first one is spell batching. So I have a Reddit thread up here. I don't know if you guys have heard of spell batching. I am unqualified to explain spell batching, but pretty much if I had to try to explain spell batching, pretty much there used to be kind of like a delay it wasn't instantaneous back during Classic, and even when you're playing private servers, where it's different from the architecture of retail, right? Just jump in if I'm slaughtering this shit, but pretty much
you're not.
You know, like when you're the way spells are like queued and the way they like, even when you're talking about with the grenades earlier, right? Like that might be an effect of the spell batching system before. So people are concerned that there might be like the modern architecture, the modern spell batching in Classic WoW, as opposed to how spells really were back during Classic and on private servers and shit. And apparently the butterfly effect of having spell batching would be pretty significant. So we're kind of hoping to unpack this here. So I have a Reddit thread up here, and let me just read it real quick, and then let's get these fine gentlemen's thoughts on the matter. Okay. PvP needs spell batching or the meta is tarnished. If you don't know what spell batching is, it's the way the game processed spells before WoD. Spells were processed every server tick instead of ASAP, and it's what let 2 mages polymorph each other, 2 rogues gouge each other, and 2 priests fear each other, and so on. While it's true that it was originally designed because of technical limitations, it was kept all the way until WoD because of the positive effect it had on gameplay, most notably PvP. In PvP, it gave you options that are not available to you now under current game mechanics. Fearing your opponent's kidney shot, Frost Nova and jumping your opponent's stun, vanishing a death coil, and any other interaction between spells that would be exclusively possible on the old system and not the new could be used as an example. For instance, you could predict and gouge a mage's blink. Alright, I'll stop right there. I don't want to read the whole thing. So, what are you guys' thoughts on spell batching?
I mean,
deeply
I'm a warrior. I don't
needed.
care.
Alright. There we go.
Fuck you and the horse.
As a warrior, you, if anything, you should want it just because it does make casters weaker. It just unequivocally makes casters much weaker.
I don't need any benefit. I do not need. You should get all the help you can get.
Would it be a buff? So it would be a buff to warriors, you think, if there was the new spell batching?
No, so like if you have old spell batching, right? If you have spell batching where when I Nova, it could. So essentially, like this is the way the spell batching works. Is spells were processed in batches. That's why it's called the spell batching of 400 milliseconds. So every 400 milliseconds, right? Say the server ticks, right? Say it's like mana regen. Every 0.4 seconds, 400 milliseconds, the server has a tick, and on that tick, any spell that was hit during the 400 millisecond windup essentially is processed every 400 milliseconds. So if you hit it at 395 milliseconds, it's processed 0.05, right? Like it's processed 5 milliseconds later. So you have 5 extra milliseconds of lag, right? That's essentially all it would do. So it's not a very big deal. But if you hit it right after the spell batched, so right after the batch is processed, it clears all the spells that were hit. If you hit a spell right after, another spell was processed, you have to wait 0.4 seconds for it to hit. So if I frostbolt someone right after a batch was hit, then they can keep walking towards me, unslowed, for a half second.
Huh, okay. But what if Blizzard said this is the way WoW is supposed to be, but we couldn't do it because of the way
that's the thing though. They didn't want that to be the case. That was done for technical limitations, as it points out. It doesn't actually make all those things exclusively possible. The only thing that I'm actually not 100% sure of is the vanished death coil. I don't know if that's no longer possible without it. I could be wrong. That could be impossible without.
Could it improve the game if they had the new spell batching? Or no?
Having the old system is not good, right? Like having the old system, like people say, oh, you need it for the meta, you need it for double gouges, you need it for gouge blinks, you need it for double fears. You don't. You don't. That's just a lie.
You want
right?
you want the new WoD spell batching?
What spells should be processed as they occur because you should reward people for pressing the button first.
Oh, okay. I did not think you were going to say that. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm not a no changes boy, right? Like the fact that private servers now, they have batching of like 100 milliseconds, which is not something that I would be opposed to. I think there's a question of what window should be rewarded, right? Should you only reward the person who hits it first, right? Do you want to preserve more double spell hitting? Double polymorphs is not interesting. That's not an interesting gameplay mechanic. Double gouges is not interesting. You just sit there with your thumb up your ass and you don't do anything. Okay. Right, for 3 seconds. It's not actually interesting gameplay. People who think that it is are, in my opinion, are people who typically aren't actually playing the game.
Well, I played the demo,
these things are still possible.
I played the demo a lot. I was streaming it a lot. It did feel smoother and more responsive. Maybe because my latency is lower being an NA. I don't know if that's related to spell batching, but it really did feel as soon as I hit something.
Spell batching. will make it feel a lot rougher. Because I played on servers with spell batching.
No, the demo made it feel smoother though. It made it feel like
the demo doesn't have batching.
Oh, okay.
The batching was not the demo. But people still could double polymorph. People still could because there's a latency problem.
Okay.
If the spell actually has to, right, like it'll go off, but it'll hit based on your latency. So if both people have, say 10 milliseconds, then you have a 10 millisecond window for them both to hit at the same time.
Okay.
Right, because despite the fact that it will be processed, right, it'll be processed as soon as it arrives. It'll be delayed on its arrival after cast to hit based on latency. So if you have two people who get it off in this, say they have 10 milliseconds, in this 10 millisecond window, then they will both sheep. But should it really be the case that if two mages, right, on an RNG sort of scale as to whether or not the batch happened to be recently cleared or not?
But people are concerned that maybe it doesn't, maybe it won't feel like maybe it won't feel like old school vanilla, like how it used to feel. So you're kind of saying like that's okay, it'll improve the game.
I mean, how many times have you seen mages double sheep each other?
On private servers, very rarely, because the batching is actually reduced. It doesn't work. They have a hack fixed batching. They actually don't process the spells in that way.
I just mean that if this is what's gonna make you feel like you're playing, vanilla, then I don't know.
It's not, but like the thing is like it's so you see actually on like a lot of old school vanilla videos. You'll see when mages go, and this is a huge nerf to casters comparatively, right? It does make mages a lot stronger than they were in any other iteration of vanilla if you remove spell batching, because you see these people that you see them Frost Nova, and then a full half second later, the Frost Nova goes off. It's not like, whereas when I Frost Nova on a server like Northdale,
all right, mages don't need any more buffs, dude. We'll go to the old school spell batching. Let's go, dude. Fuck that.
It does make, to me, it makes the game feel, but this is actually, it is in the biases as a mage. It does make the game just feel less responsive and less cool as a result of that responsiveness. It works for rogues as well, right? The blind will go off like a half second later. So if someone's like about to finish a spell, right, you see them, they're 0.2 seconds for finishing that soul fire, and you're trying to protect the flag carrier for whatever reason because you died and now you just rezzed, and your flag carrier is about to die in Warstone Gulch, and you blind that guy, and then nothing happens. The blind hits them. You see that the blind hits, and nothing happens until a third of a second later, when after the soul fire goes off, and then it makes it feel, to me, clunky, right? And these people, the people who insist that it needs to be there,
that ties into the question of, do you want the old school vanilla bugs though? Because if you want the old bugs, then that's kind of the same thing. Maybe that's a bug.
But it's not even a bug, right? It's a technical limitation. Do we need technical limitations? Should everyone who plays vanilla have a dial-up connection? Because it's the only way you're going to authentically recreate vanilla, right?
But I mean, that's when you say that, it's also unlimited debuff slots on bosses, because it was a technical limitation back then.
Oh, there you go.
And it would destroy the game immensely. So
would it destroy the game? Right, like that's what they're planning on. They're planning on having the later debuff cap, right?
16 is okay, but go over 16, it's insane.
Well, yeah, but so much more DPS. Even TBC, they didn't have that. So it was never. It was not a technical.
No, okay, but North, there could be a technical limitation that it just turned out as it played out that it helped with the balance, and maybe they wanted, then it became.
Well, for instance, but they've already have a history of making these decisions. So I agree that that's possible. But for instance, in TBC, the debuff cap was raised to, I think it's either 40 or 80 or something. But they did cap it because they didn't want it to be unlimited. Right, that wasn't a design, that wasn't a technical limitation. They were just like, we don't want unlimited debuffs, right? And I agree that it is a design thing, and you should, where you can, preserve it. But it's not like a damage difference. It literally is just everything is slowed down. It doesn't reward people for actually hitting the buttons beforehand. It is a slower form of actually processing the spells that does nothing but make the game slower.
Okay.
Right. Should the game be slower and be processed slower? You might have that opinion. I don't.
Okay. All right. Oh, so what do you guys think, Taka? Yay or nay, spell batching, the old school one or the modern?
I mean, just go with the old one. But if they decide to go with the new way, then I'm not gonna argue, because I have to agree with North. Why should you reward people for being half a second late to press a button?
That's a pretty fair way of making it succinct. Okay, what do you think, Sorrana? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I kind of agree on that, that with rewarding, but you could also say you know how it works, so you could predict it, which brings in a new mind game to be.
You can't though. That's the thing. Like it's like unless you have like you'd have to have an add-on for it. And like I've actually gone through like I've thought about this. You need an add-on essentially to like have like a 400 millisecond ticker.
Hell
right?
yeah, dude.
Which actually would be possible. You could
swing
do this.
timer.
You could have like essentially a swing timer for spells and doing that. But is that really? Is that what you want to be doing? Is that a good mechanic?
That would be so crazy.
Methinks no. Methinks that's stupid.
So my opinion is I'm okay with reducing the MS batching when it's being processed, but I don't want to get it entirely
I actually would be fine with that as well. Like I think a reduced system would probably be just as fine as like so long as it's not the 400. Because my issue with it
would
is
be like what private servers like 100, like you said.
I think it's like 1 to 200 milliseconds, which is just like it does actually. I think, and I don't think it was intended this way, but it does even the playing field, right? If two people if someone has 10 MS versus the 50 MS, the 10 MS, like if he casts the polymorph, he'll get it off. Right, every single time, which is super shitty. So batching does help with that. So like, I won't always lose a polymorph against like someone who's in Europe on private servers, which is nice. But like when I was in Korea on K2, and I had 450 MS, I would always lose because like I would always lose it to the European person. So if someone like if the difference is actually that much MS, like 200 say, which you could have without batching. Let's say someone's playing in the West Coast and it's on an East Coast server. They could have, say they have 200 MS, and they will lose every time. So maybe you implement 100 to 200 MS batching just to help even the playing field.
One guy made a solid point that's kind of cohesive. He said, "I like spell batch. It's light hot though. Shout out to light hot those. I like spell batching. It makes PvP more strategic and chess-like rather than who press their key button 1 MS faster." Who can vary on one's internet and peripherals rather than skill. Now the reason I bring that up is that it's almost more turn-based. It's like a turn-based fucking strategy game with that.
But without the turns being defined, right? So more often than not, like I think that while theoretically it could be like that, right? You're like, yes, like it's not just rewarding who clicks it faster. It's rewarding who happens, right? Like who happens to click it faster and the batching was on their side. Because you could have two people who, and this is an extreme example. I press my Fire Blast, and it happens to be right before the batch goes out. Another guy presses his Fire Blast. It's 1 millisecond later.
Okay. So
his is now in the next batch. Mine is in the first batch. My Fire Blast goes off. I want him, right? Like, say I don't want him. Say I immediately go up and I right-click him because I'm next to him. My Fire Blast, and then I melee him. Those will happen within, like, well, they wouldn't because it would reset the swing timer. But so say someone else swings at him, right? And we were at the same health. He would have killed me if there were no batching. But now he doesn't kill me because his spell happens to be on the other side of the batch.
You're saying it's not like energy ticks or mana ticks every 2 seconds. It's something that you can't track, so therefore it's kind of... You theoretically could track it. If no one's ever made an add-on for it because, private servers have always like nobody's
the era.
Milliseconds, dude. I don't even know if your eyes
Exactly. But like 400 milliseconds is something worth tracking. But then you have this. You have. I think it's just it's not something that actually rewards. It's something that it makes it so that when you code of cold something, it'll almost always be like it can be vastly different between when you code of cold something and when it actually affects something. Someone, which to me doesn't feel good, right? It should feel consistent when you lower the batching, right? It won't be consistent unless you completely remove it. It won't be actually consistent, just depending on your latency. It will vary, right, depending on where in the batch it is. But if it's just a millisecond or even just 200, it's a lot different from a whole like 0.4 seconds, which is nearly half.
I gotcha. Yeah, solid points all around.
Can I just answer a couple of questions real quick in the
Go for it,
chat?
Man. Hell yeah.
It's like some people are asking. What spec is my favorite spec as a PvP? I mean, I'm going for damage and arms, and then someone is asking my favorite warriors to watch that I would recommend PvP. I mean, I like the old guys, as but Monkey News is a really good warrior with a brain attached to a sword. And I also like a guy that I play with called Prefox, who was playing in the top-rated RBG team in Europe, and he's gonna pick up Classic, and I'm looking forward to watching him. Yeah, Tribe is also very nice, right?
Oh yeah, Tribe's the man. All right.
Zolp's also very strong,
Yeah.
but if you can handle his autism.
Zolp. All right. All right. So we got one last thing to cover on this panel, and it's something that Sorrana brought up. I think it's a really great thing to talk about, and it's honor capping. So how to elegantly honor cap. I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but mainly an issue when you're in bracket 1 and bracket 2, because there's some advantage of capping kind of perfectly. So I have the little slide brought up here that he's so beautifully crafted. Go for it, Sorrana.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, North knows it as well. Every time you go into high brackets, like bracket 1 and 2, you need to most likely stack on an exact number that the bracket lead gives you. The reason for that is because the more gaps you have between your honor to the cap, the less ranking points you get. So you have less progress in your rank, alright? So you want to stack as close as you can to the guy in front of you. Not if you're standing 1, obviously, then you hit the exact number. And for that purpose, honor capping is very important, that you hit the number exactly, and that the guys behind you don't overtake you and go right behind you by like -1 or 2 honor, maybe.
Wait, so you have a bracket leader who's running your pre-made, and he goes, all right, we're going to set it at 1.5 million, and you're supposed to stack as close as you can to that?
Exactly. The bracket leader is doing it for the faction on your server entirely.
Okay.
So it's not only for your pre-made, he sets it up for the entire alliance or horde, whatever you are playing on. And yeah, let's say if he says 1 million is the standing 1 cap, then probably he or the next guy that is hitting his rank 14 or needs that RP to hit his final rank will go standing 1 and needs to hit exactly 1 million, right? 1 million in 1 or 1 million in 2 would be shit, just because everyone behind him would stack close to 1 million to not get less RP. So he needs to stack at 1 million, and the guys behind that as well.
What's RP?
Yeah. This also... What is RP? Wait, was that the question?
Yeah.
Ranking points. So like the percent contribution, like towards the actual blue on your bar as you progress, right? You get honor for a certain RP, right? Like, and then you get RP per week. So
is honor RP, or is there a difference between honor and RP?
No. So honor is relative, right? So honor it gives you a relative, right? Like it just gives you a standing. That standing within relative context to the rest of the people who have been PvPing that week, and who have 25 HKs or above. Is it 15 or 25? I think it's 15. 15 honor kills or above, right? They make a pool. Your position in that pool, based on honor, which determines your position, is how much ranking points you get. And they're sort of truncated into brackets, right? So the top 0.05% is bracket 1. And I believe it's like I forget what is, or it's 0.02 is bracket 1?
Yes.
Yep. 0.02 is bracket 1. That's like 0.05 is bracket 2.
Okay.
So those, right? But the way that it's actually determined is the top standing in those brackets gets the maximum amount. So the top for bracket 1, the very first person, standing 1, will get 13,000 ranking points. And then every bracket less to that is 1,000 less. So the top of bracket 2 will get 12,000. The top of bracket 3 will get 11,000, and so on. And the way, however, that you actually get points if you're not standing 1 is based on the honor relative to both to the person at the top of your bracket and the person at the top of the bracket below you. So a lot of people don't actually know that, and it could be different based on different private servers. So essentially, right, that's the reason why you want to stack as close as possible, because if you have, right, if it's based on the difference, like your difference in RP from theirs, from the 13,000 if you're in bracket 1, is based on your difference in honor from the person who gets that amount. If there's no difference, then there's no difference in the RP, theoretically. On private servers, however, there have been known to be people who get above 13,000. People aren't really sure on the math. It could be hack fixed from on the private server side, because sometimes there are people who get 13,000 and say 20 RP, and they're like standing 3, but they're getting more than standing 1. So there's a lot of like fucky shit that goes on.
So explain to me, Sorrana, like, so let's say you're bracket leader, you're bracket 1, right? And he says 1.5 mil is what is the fucking is the thing, right? So you want to stack as close. So you want to get 1 below him, so that'd be 1.4999999 whatever. So what would happen if you didn't, though? Let's say if you were 5 below and you could have been like a little bit closer. What would happen? What would be the downside?
Okay, yeah, you would get less RP. Let's say you are 1 below. He would get 13,000 as standing 1, and you should get 12,999 RP. That's how it works in Classic. On Private Server, it's a different story. You can have bigger gaps and so on. But talking on Classic, you should get 1 less RP, or even 2 less RP. But it's not that much.
The math is weird sometimes, though. So it's like it depends on how high the honor is as well. Because if the cap is actually 1.5 million. And the bracket below is, say, 1.4 million is bracket 2. If you have 2 below, it's not actually going to matter that much, and it's like it's based on also how far it is from the other one. So if below you, it gets really into like stupid kind of math. If the bracket cap below you, say 1.2 million, and you're 1.5 million, then the gap is even farther. So you're less in a percent. If you think of it as like a slider, you are less towards bracket 2, so you'll actually lose less than you would if it were like if they were stacked 10,000 below you.
But
which
every
would be a
one honor,
idea.
so I guess the TLDR here is every 1 honor point counts, even a single honor point, right? You're saying
not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but most of the time.
That's what we. But that's Private Server only. In Classic,
yeah. So I mean, it's not really. We don't really fully know, to be honest, because like it's just based on the Private Server math. 1 won't matter, but I'm pretty sure the math will be the same in terms of you won't probably have this thing where it goes above 13,000. You have like that weird math where standing 3 will get more than standing 1. I don't think that'll happen. However,
yeah.
However,
but it doesn't really matter.
It is relative. I mean, so if it's 1 less honor and the difference, like the pool is like 500,000 in terms of the distance. If you're 1 honor on 500,000 and the difference is 1,000, 1 literally cannot be any any point in terms of honor because it just isn't divisible.
Okay.
So I think that math will hold up, but usually it's closer than that. So usually 1 honor point will end up being 1 RP point depending on how you stack it.
Long story short, the closer you stack, the safer it is you will get your full calculated RP. So, because of that, you want to get as close as you can to the number they tell you, right? So if it's even 1 below the guy, and you don't want to overtake him because you would break the bracket, actually, and everyone would hate you because they have to restack, I can give you a few little tips how you can manage to get those honor points. So let's say you wanna get to 1 point, standing 1 is 1.5 million, like Kargoz said, and you have to go to 1499999. And how you approach that is you play all the week, right, until you could not fit 1 more battleground win into your gap of overtaking standing 1, right? Of breaking the bracket.
Yeah, okay. So
exactly. So you have to the numbers of the bonus weekends and so on. They are a little bit different every time if you have bonus or non-bonus and so on. But because you play the whole week, you will see all time the same numbers of in the battleground, and then you have of the end of the battleground of the bonus honor, of course, and then you have to count in the HKs you do, obviously. So don't do it on the number exactly, right? If you would take 1 win of the battleground exactly to hit that number, don't go for that risk. Just bail out before and go world PvP, and that's how you stack. You can even turn in marks, because marks, if you turn in 3 marks to, it doesn't matter if it's Warsong, Outrock Valley or Arathi Basin, it's 398 honor every time you turn them in. So you can use this fixed number to get as close to the cap, to your told cap as you can, until you would go over with the next turn in. So you don't go for the next 398 honor turn in.
Okay.
And then you go world PvPing, and you can see on this little slide, it's a little bit small, I see, but you can see the numbers or the honor numbers that someone with the rank would give you if you kill them solo, 100% to 0. That is. So if you kill if you kill 100% of the HP that of that guy you engage the fight with him, you will get full honor of him. Unless you killed him before that day, it's 24 hours reset. You can kill everyone, every player only 10 times until he doesn't give you any honor anymore. And every time you kill him during that 10 times, it reduces by 10%. So because you don't want to keep track of how many times I killed that guy, yeah, you always go with the max. So you always predict I didn't kill or see that guy this week, so I go for the max, and you kill him and see what comes out. And then you add it to your amount, and you calculate what is left before I break, and then you go on. If you encounter that situation that by the way, those numbers you see is from level 60 players. You get from level 48 on honor from players. If you kill 48, it's much less than those numbers. But I would always go with those numbers and then stack closely. You can do it with a friend. So whenever you are, let's say, you are in patch 1.8 plus, a private level 60 would give you 198 honor. If you only need, let's say, 190 honor, you couldn't kill someone as a private rank 1, right? So because you would go over. So what you do is you get a friend of your pre-mate who is also not stacked, or someone from your guild, and what you do is you buy a level 1 dagger, and you go out world PvPing. And what you do is you group up, and you just go to someone,
making sure that you're not in their group.
Yeah. You're not in. You're grouping up as a team, but not actually inviting someone into your group. So what you do is you equip that dagger and you poke someone one time. Only do like 2 damage or something. Okay. And your buddy is killing him off. And the honor is always divided by the people who did the percentage of the damage to his health pool. So if he starts at 100% and you only do like 1% of his health pool and damage, and the other one kills him off, that's divided. You get 1% of the honor, he gets the 99% of the honor. And that's how you can get like 1 or 2 honor every time you kill someone. And you can work from there.
And what happens if you break it? Are you fucked? Like, is it really bad?
You have to tell everyone what you've done. Like I broke once 2 weeks in a row while I was ranking on North Dowling. Someone, this is the thing though, someone actually followed me around, some hunter followed me around. Like I was forced to like try and kite him and get away, because he would sit on top of me, and then if I was trying to like cone of cold someone, he would take off all his gear, and he would just like sit on top of me, and then he would. So yeah, so it ended up being that so what he ended up doing was he had no gear on, and he invisibility potion next to a guy that I was killing, and so I had the guy Frost Nova, and as I cone of colded him, it cone of colded the hunter, it crit on the hunter, he sapper charged himself, demonic ruined, and skulled, and then he died. So I broke.
God. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually unreal. It was actually unreal that he.
I mean, yeah, that's unlucky. But I mean, to protect your cap, I was always really serious about that, because if you break it, bracket 1 and 2 most likely have to restack. Like at least everyone in bracket 1 has to restack, and those people are really glad they all already stacked, and they getting their sleep, and they gonna eat and do whatever.
Call everyone up, and you gotta call everyone up, and they're gonna fucking put in another 2 hours. Yeah.
So yeah, those people will be annoyed by that. So whatever you do, if you capped, like if you know you're gonna raid, for example, and you are close to the cap, just don't cap on that day after before you raid, because you can run into your raid or something. Everyone of your raid is separating them, or someone in your raid is killing someone on the side, and you get that honor and you break the cap by that, and you didn't do anything, just because by being in the group.
Dude, that's gonna happen a lot. By accident, you just don't pay attention for a minute, and
man. But you can't. You have to know that you are paying attention fully. Like you cannot. So
don't stack.
So the thing is, like about all this, like despite that fact, like even if say it's a 50 honor difference, right? Say it's a 50 honor difference. Say someone goes over by 50 honor, and everyone else is stacked. Someone goes over by 50 honor. Does it really, like, if I were bracket leading, and I only bracket led on K2, so I'm not like the most experienced bracket leader on earth, and I only bracket led for like 2 weeks. But does it really matter that you lose, 30 RP? Say you lose 50 RP. Say you like the worst case scenario, you lose 50 RP. There, like that's the absolute worst case scenario, is that you lose 50 RP, which you probably won't. You'll probably lose less. You'll probably, in my experience, you've lost, like, if you lose by 50 honor, you might not even lose any, depending on the difference in like the brackets. You might lose 2 to 5 typically is what you'll lose. Does it really make sense to have everyone then go again when, you know, they could accidentally, you know, go into battleground and try and go for a tick, and then they get 2 kills right in front of them, and then they break by 300. And so you then have, depending on if it's bracket 2, typically, to me, it's not worth doing it because of how many people are going to be in bracket 2. But again, also depends on the bracket sizes, because I anticipate the brackets will be much smaller because you won't have.
But I really hate
one person did what you say, and that small shit made me end up in fucking bracket 2. That made me not get rank 14 for 2 fucking weeks.
If someone were to do that, if someone were to go over by 1, that is not what would put you in a different bracket. What would put you in a different bracket if someone misjudged the bracket sizes.
If
someone going over by 50, someone going over by 50 wouldn't steal a bracket. So you shouldn't be stacking that closely.
It was a factor of both, but yeah, the one person breaking, you know.
But one person breaking, if you have a difference in the bracket, one person breaking will necessarily not do that.
But I have seen like Bunny Meat from Nope getting an additional week because he was exactly at the RP he needed. Exactly.
No, exactly. So the bracket leader should know, right? The bracket leader should know if someone is. So what you have to do is you have to know what those caps are, because certain people, they will make it by margins of 1 or 2 RP. Right? They will make it by margins of 1 or 2 RP. It's a rare thing, but it will happen because of how high the decay is. It does exist. So the bracket leader should know, right, when people will actually need those perfect stacks and when they will need it, and making sure that that person is no matter what standing 1. Right? Because I agree. If you let it go and that person needs the 2 to 5, like for instance, Unnamed needed it in his rank 13 finish. Like
getting so triggered as German right now, because why not just do it every time on spot? Every time has to do if everyone knows, just don't go over. Yeah. They won't fuck it up. And
no, I agree. In the same vein, it's more important, right? If that person, right, if they're 5 below cap, right? And you're trying to solo get like a private kill.
You're saying the same thing.
Like
so
by yourself.
It's the best policy to stack perfectly.
Stay 5 below.
But if they do go over, it's not the end of the world. But the best policy should be to stack perfectly and as close as possible every week, right? You guys are.
But always to err on the side of just less fucking interference, right? Like if you're 50 below and you don't have the person stack with you, just sit 50 below. If you don't actually.
I have a question, Joe. If you kill a level 48. I mean, you're getting sub 100 honor, right? You can use that as a tool too, right?
48 private, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. I have a list of that. We when we are ranking, we gathered all the kills during the week. So level 48 at rank 0 gives you 47 honor, and rank 1 is 49 honor.
That's still more than I thought. Wow. Okay.
But I think that's
exactly. But you can use that. You can use that to do that. But like, say you only have 30 honor left, and you don't have someone to help stack with you, like, you should just not fuck with it. You should just stay 40 honor below and just sit there, right? It doesn't matter, like, unless your 40 honor is actually going to cause you to lose a rank. Just don't in the same way that if someone goes 50 above and it doesn't matter, don't, like, to be honest, you shouldn't mess with it for anything other than principle.
Okay.
Okay. But never go above, and when in doubt, don't risk going above.
Yeah.
So people will explain this. People will explain this to people, like if they actually start ranking.
And this stuff only matters though for like the super big dick PvPers, though, right? I mean, is it bracket 1, bracket 2?
You can only bracket 1 and bracket 2. Like you theoretically could stack bracket 3 if bracket 2 is actually full, but that's only if you have AV ranking and you have enough people to do that with. Really, typically you don't. So essentially, if bracket 1 and bracket 2 are full, you could stack some people in bracket 3, but bracket 3 is much larger than bracket 1 or bracket 2. I forget actually what the bracket size is. Vanilla PvP
depends on your pool.
Yeah. So no, but it's like the percent size is for 1 sec.
It was like on Astarius. On Astarius, you had like 60 something thousand. You know.
Yeah. So it goes from it's 0.02 for bracket 1. It's 0.07 for bracket 2, and then it goes straight to 0.17. So it's it's significantly larger.
Yeah, usually around the double.
Gotcha. Okay, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Bracket 1, Bracket 2. So basically the highest ranked PvPers on the faction Victor is what we're talking about here. So it doesn't really apply to everyone, but it's some people are trying to go super hard in Classic. So this is stuff that it's going to help them stack as tight as possible. You know, he said the TLDR is to go out there with a level 1 dagger, do as little damage as possible, and have your friend kill the target, and that way you can get like 1 honor at a time or single digits, so you can get as close as possible.
So for someone that doesn't know what bracket even is, can someone explain it in 20 seconds? What is a bracket? What is a bracket?
A group of people in a certain amount of honor. How you progress is relative in just sort of when you get honor. It's not, the point doesn't give you progression. It gives you a position in the pool. That position is in a certain percentage, and that percentage group is a bracket.
And you defined it before, like 0.02, and then the next one is whatever.
Yeah, so they have predefined graphics. So the first bracket is 0.02, the second's 0.002, because it's
0.002. Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's 0.02%. Yeah, right. Okay. Like so it's 0.002. So 0.007 is 13, which is bracket 2. 0.017 is bracket 3. 0.037 is bracket 4, and so on.
Okay. Thanks for that. Well, we are done for today, guys. We covered a lot today. It was a fun show. We appreciate your time today. I want to quickly shout out the guys on the stream right now, where you can find them, where you can follow them. They all stream. They make content. So we got Takanashi is twitch.tv/the Takanashi. Just spelled like his name right there. He's also on YouTube at Everest Strength. You can maybe put it in the chat, Taka, to help people follow you. North is twitch.tv/NorthTheMage. So it's North the Mage, all one word. I'm not sure if he has a YouTube channel. Sorrana is Sorrana199. Twitch.tv/Sorrana199. Spelled as you see here with 199 right after. And then you're probably already watching me on Twitch or YouTube, so you know where I'm at. But big thanks to these guys. Went a little bit over today. But thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully next week we have more updates on Classic. We get some good news. And that's going to be all for this one, guys. We have the Good Morning Azeroth podcast on Thursday, then game shows on Friday. So if any of these guys want to be on the game shows, let me know. If you guys want to be on the game shows, let me know. We got that coming up. Going to be Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Is North going to be in there?
He still's got to defend his Jeopardy title at some point.
I can't be on the same show as him. I hope there's going to be spell batching. That's all I gotta say.
Oh God, dude.
Yeah. You might enjoy the Who Wants to Be a Vanillionaire North. It is really fun, and it's like a solo.
I'm always down. And after the shenanigans that happened.
I heard about that, man. I heard about
I have to lay low for a while. It seems.
Well, check out the VOD. Who Wants to Be a Vanillionaire? It's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We're doing it for Classic WoW. It was a lot of fun.
Very nice.
I'm excited.
That sounds like good fun, especially if you've got like the phone a friend and shit.
We do. And we also have Ask the Audience, which is Ask the Chat. You know, it's just pretty cool. They get to look through the
sick,
chat.
Actually.
It's really cool. It's a lot of fun, man. It's really fun.
Yeah, I saw that one. It was nice.
Yeah, you were in the chat. I saw you there too. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I'll see you next time. Hope you have a great week. Take it easy, boys and girls. 1.8% girls. See you later.